all the links. So
Oh,
let's do
oh.
our quick little.
Ooh,
Let's talk about things we've watched while I send out all the links and all the servers.
Okay, so Pablo
Same
watched the
thing as
Bunny Girl
last
Senpai
week.
movie.
I have not watched the
and
movie
I'm
yet.
so happy.
I watched Bunny Girl Senpai
Oh my
and I
God.
watched the movie, and I really liked the movie.
The show.
Would you rate the show? Would you rate the show?
I'd rate the show for me like okay, after the first arc, I'd rate it like an 8 out of 10. With the
What?
first arc, maybe like a 6 or 7.
Really?
So
I didn't like the first arc. I just didn't like the first arc. I told you this already.
I know. I'm just surprised. Yeah, that makes sense.
a new Crunchyroll original came out yesterday.
Yeah.
I have not seen it yet. It's
I
called
haven't
called Onyx Equinox.
Onyx is bad
Yes.
defense. He's a bad Pokemon. Get it out of here.
This
Okay,
is
what does
their
that
like.
mean?
This is
But it
being
looks cool.
This is being described
Okay.
as slightly more edgy Avatar. I believe is how people are describing it.
That's a way to do it.
Which
That
Avatar?
actually kind of sounds
Like the
pog.
Last
people one?
Airbender.
Oh shit.
Okay,
The
but
gods are at
like-
war for the future of humanity.
Yeah.
I love the new JPEG you have on the fucking page, by the way.
Oh, just wait. There's one for every show.
Oh no.
Just wait, baby.
Okay. Okay.
Has it changed?
No.
It's just right next to the big one.
This is the first week we've done this.
Uh-huh.
But no. So
See.
I watched the newest episode of Noblesse.
Oh, so
and
did I.
And immediately fucking
yeah.
dropped it afterwards because holy shit, that show has gone immediately back to boring.
I like this episode. I think it's a
I
nice
think
slice of life episode. It's
I
not
think
what I
this
want
is the
from the
best
show.
episode
Yeah.
of Noblesse that is.
What is the show though? Is it slice of life?
It is.
Or is it
what it
fighting vampires?
That's the problem.
Yes.
So from what I read on Reddit or like on certain posts is that the show in written format in the webtoons comics, I guess as they're called, as the kids would call them. The show is mostly like a slice of life, like deadpan comedy style centered around Rai, which they cut a lot of in favor of more of the action for the anime. And I think like if it had picked one or the other, it would have been so much better. But like the show gets you so excited for it to do stuff, and then just nothing happens, and you're like the slice of life stuff is fine, but like if it's gonna be that, make it known that it's gonna be that, right? Like don't make it seem like this is
Speaking
just like
this out, Sean. My name isn't centered. By the way,
we also could have been hard baited by the
Mine's
OVA.
also not centered.
That's true.
I think the OVA hard baits you.
I
but
think
like
hard baits.
But the OVA it literally tells you have to watch this. So like,
oh, I didn't.
Yeah, Tommy didn't. We forgot to tell him to.
Yeah.
I forgot.
Yeah.
I forgot to tell him to. I'll take the hit for the. I also forgot to tell him we voted it off last week. So.
also, other anime that I've been looking into. I was recently signed a homework assignment by Pablo and our friend Manatsu to watch Violet Evergarden. So I will be updating you guys with that.
I will be finishing it sometime this week. I have to watch the last 2 episodes. I didn't know I did not do that.
I will probably watch it in like 2 days, and then I'll probably be like recovering for the next like 4.
You are a monster. You are a monster, by the way.
Who, me?
No.
Do not watch Violet Evergarden in 2 days. Give yourself a break.
No.
Did you guys know that on Hulu, Wandering Witch is classified as an action series?
Yeah, and so was Noblesse. What's your point?
Did you know on certain sites when you watch Iwakaku, they make sure that you're over 18?
Yo, you do. Over 17. Over 17.
Oh, it's over 17.
Speaking of binge watching, I am now on episode 88 of Crit Roll.
Ooh.
Oh my god. He started, Sean, he started like 2 weeks ago.
I know, and with Dylan, we're gonna have to just burn through it once I'm home.
We're gonna, like, holy shit.
So Michael and I watched the end of Parasite the Maxim twice, because I watched it, and then Michael finished, and I watched it again with Michael.
Yeah.
Dylan,
well,
watch Parasite,
show,
watch Parasite the Maxim. Dylan.
Yeah, it's a great show.
You're gonna love it.
I'm currently halfway through Your Lie in April. I was told to watch that.
Oh,
okay.
Okay, hang on. Before we start this, I gotta get your take on what you're thinking so far.
I'm so ready for that show to destroy me.
Oh, yeah, you are.
I'm not even making guesses at this point. I'm just like, hit me, just punch me in the fucking gut, and just tear my insides out.
Dodge. Next week's podcast, Dylan's gonna tell us how he was destroyed by Your Lie in April, and you're gonna tell us what Violet Evergarden did to you.
Violet Evergarden was absolute garbage.
I don't know if I finished Violet. I think I need to
episode 12. Oh god, that's where he meets the okay, yep.
Shut the fuck up.
Like,
No, I'm saying like,
by the way.
he just met the
Like,
the one person with his. You know what I'm talking about.
Dylan.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, anything else, Dylan? About?
It's not spoilers. Shut up. I'm not gonna spoil anything.
That was my homework assignment
Okay.
after we
Yes, it
gave
is.
Villian his homework assignment.
I'm so glad. I'm
Yo,
procrastinating,
y'all are
so
getting
that's
homework
fine.
shit. I've just
Well,
scot free,
we
no
had an
homework.
argument because we were like, "You never watched Violet Evergarden? We'll go watch it." And he's like, "Well, if you got to do this, you got to watch this." And I'm like, "All right, fine." And then what did we tell Manatsu to go watch? I don't remember.
Bunny Girl probably.
Was it Bunny Girl or Made in Abyss?
Oh, you told him to watch that.
Oh, no,
I
I
I
need
was
to
just
finish that.
screaming at him. I was like, "Just go watch the good stuff."
We're just taking knives to each other's throats. I see.
All right. All right.
What's new? What's new?
We saw it long enough.
So Parasite. I just want to talk briefly about this.
Yeah,
Dylan.
absolutely.
So that you know what you're getting into. It is a show about parasites. Surprise. These like
Spider-Man.
outer space like beings that burrow into people's
Kinda, yeah.
bodies. And the idea is they try to take over the brain, and once they do, they basically camouflage as the person whose brain they went into, and then they feed on other humans. Our main character's parasite goes into his right arm, and as such, they like function together. And the show's about both him working through that problem while also, not wanting the parasites to continually slaughter humanity. Very good show. I think you'll like it a lot.
All right, dope. I'll probably watch it. How many episodes is it?
24.
Fuck.
And its
Okay.
last 6 episodes feel like 12. It
It's-
is a
it was
lot
wild.
happens at the end of that show.
Fuck. Okay. Yeah, I'll do it. Fuck it.
Yep.
Fuck it at this point. Like
Uh,
I'm ready for your line able to just like tear me to shreds, and I'm like, all right, action show, I guess.
I
Uh,
also
or-
watched
Oh, don't worry, you're gonna get torn to shreds too. Don't worry.
Fuck.
different kinds
Fuck.
of shreds. I also watched the first 3 episodes of Our Last Crusade.
Never heard of it.
It's brand new. I believe that's its
Oh.
name.
It's Our Last Crusade or something.
Yeah,
That's
it's
the
Our
full
Last
title, I don't
Crusade.
know.
It's about it's about 2 societies, one of mages / witches and one of just soldiers, I guess. They don't really explain what the other side is. And basically the main male character is like an anti-witch weapon and has some busted ass
Oh,
magic
this
swords.
show.
Yes. And the main female character is a very powerful ice witch. The two of them beat each other in battle, and then they're like, "I want to end the war," and the other one's like, "I also want to end the war," and then they accidentally fall into each other's arms, and then the next 3 episodes are them running into each other in lighthearted slice of life scenarios
Yeah.
until they basically decide, well, we can't join each other. That would be silly. Let's fight each other despite the fact that we want the same thing. So it's like an action
It's
romance
Romeo and
Romeo
Julio.
and Juliet, yeah.
Yeah.
It looks good. Like visually it's a pretty appealing show. I'm 3 episodes into that. I'll see how it is down the line.
It's got better magic than Wandering Witch. I will say that.
The magic looks really good in that show, and it tends to use it more.
You just sound salty. Like I don't know what to tell you. Like you just sound upset.
You sound bad about eggs. I don't have to tell you.
we'll get there.
Well, sneak peeks, sneak peeks.
Do we have anything else that we need to run through?
I think that's everything.
Okay. Everybody, welcome to episode 6 of the podcast, Save or Slay, Anime or Fray. I am Sean. I am joined by the man who no longer has to talk about noblesse.
Yes, that's me. Dylan, Poblo. I don't have to talk about that fucking show. I tried watching it, I fell asleep, and then I woke up the next day and finished it, and thank the Lord I'm gonna fucking talk about this show.
We are also joined by the man who hates eggs this week. Dash.
Yeah, I'm just hoping I don't end up with egg on my face after this one. And I'm still enjoying Tonikawa. Also, welcome back to Saber Slave, guys, where we have 2 good shows and the rest.
Well, let's talk about that. We got my man Jackman, who shares with me the only honor of having 2 shows left on the podcast, baby.
As of right now,
now,
only got 2 shows left. I'm feeling good.
Those are your
Feeling
mains
good.
too.
They're my
Also,
mains. I had 3 this season, so
Yep.
pretty good. I had a little throwaway one.
I'm joined by the only man to have no shows on this show. Well, to begin with, Dodge is also out.
What
but
the fuck?
my roommate, Michael.
Howdy.
And
That's
I'm
me.
also joined by the man who still has to talk about Wandering Witch this week. I'm
I don't know
sorry.
if that's. I don't know if I feel good about having a show or having the worst show left. I don't know.
Well, we can get in
I,
before
you
we
know,
get into the bad.
that's not a wrong take.
We're gonna be spoiling some things. There are going to be some harsh language. We obviously have already spoiled some things that aren't on this podcast, so hope you enjoyed that. But let's talk about Akadama Drive this week. Start off with one of the shows that generally has been seen as one of the top two shows. Right away, Hoodlum's alive, and in basically perfectly fine condition. It seems like he just kind of stabbed her in the eye and then dropped the saber and left, and rode a motorcycle back to the group. He reveals that Courier gave him the coordinates, so he's able to find them. He tells the group about his exploits, that, Brawler died, he took down Master, and then little brother's just like, yeah, I didn't say any of you guys, all you guys would live. And Hoodlum's like, how dare you say that? And then Swindler calms them down, and they decide that they're gonna go inside. They're gonna go down into Expo Park. Hoodlum does pick up a small trinket that brother drops outside. We get an informative lesson from Rabbit and Shark, who tell us that Expo Park was meant to be a city to preserve the history of Kansai, and then the war happened and it went underground. Our group then makes their way into Expo Park, where we see they kind of check out some stuff. There's some like high tech motorbikes, some posters talking about, you know cure-alls, making people invincible. That doctor kind of scoffs at, and we get this scene where Hoodlum stops and he sees a spacesuit, an astronaut suit, and he goes, "Yo, bro, isn't this cool?" And we all die on the inside. And then they make their way into the central building, where we see there is a large rocket ship. And Brother's like, "Yeah, this is what I want. We're gonna go to the moon. We're just gonna go to the moon." And they're like, "But can you explain why we're doing this, by the way?" And he's like, "Sure." And at this point, Hoodlum has given him back the little bag trinket he has, and it ties into the fact that him and Sister are the results of 5,555 other siblings they had, who were used to produce them as successful experiments which are immortal, that cannot die. And thus we get this scene where brother goes through these repeated experiments, where he wakes up on a bloody table, walks out, his brothers all talk to him, they make him that trinket bag, give it to him, and then one day he wakes up and they're all gone, and we learn that they were used to help make him the success he is, and then that they're going to make him a sister, and then she goes through that process, and they get the 5,555 siblings who, were left to rot, basically. As those two were the successful ones, they were decided to be gifts to Kanto. They are put into the vault on the Shinkansen. We then see that the professor, who is that black cat, disintegrates, and then brother's like, "Nah, come back here," and he uses it, and we get kind of caught back up to how he met the Akadama. They then decide that it is time to go on to the rocket ship, but not before Doctor reveals that she is the traitor. And she, as brother and sister walk up the escalator staircase, she throws a syringe into sister, who falls back down, and then takes brother hostage, and all the executioners run out. And we are revealed that she is doing this so that she gets removed from the Akadama list. We get some action with Courier and Cutthroat as they start to deal with some of the executioners, and then we have brother kind of give Doctor the slip because she's bad at her job. He loses his hat and manages to shove Sister and Swindler into the rocket ship as it flies off. But we learn that the moon's fake and has been destroyed, and the rocket doesn't look like it's going anywhere near the moon. It just looks like it's flying probably into another city or another part of the city. And we are left off not knowing the fate of our group who is left behind, or about Swindler and Sister. And that's this week's episode of Akadama Drive. A lot more exposition than action, but we still get a little bit of it. What are our thoughts?
Holy shit.
Yep,
This
that's it.
episode was insane. I
A
think
lot
I
of
watched.
fucking shit happened.
Who did I watch this with? I think it was with.
Soy.
Was it with you, or was it with Tommy that
Wasn't
I watched
it
Akudama
you,
with?
me, and Manatsu?
It was Yumi and Minatsu, but yeah, you're right.
Yes,
And
I
we were
think I am.
watching this shit, and I had to go back and watch this again, because like, holy crap, like, even though this episode was like less action and more just like exposition and like lore, it still was like, okay, like, I'm at this edge of my seat the entire time. Like,
Oh.
okay, like the part where he comes out and he's like, They're like, "Ah, you're back," and he's like, "Yeah, I only had my head chopped off twice today." I'm like, Twice? Hang on, like, and like the scenes where like the blood on the table kept getting more and more and
Mhm.
more, and then suddenly just nothing, and he's just woken up by the professor instead, and brought out to the empty like hallway with like the entire floor becoming a aquarium of children, right? Like to a degree. And that was a little that was fucked, is all I'll say. But yeah, and we got our trader, like, which was
Yes.
the most obvious choice, but I mean, sometimes that is the right
Okay.
answer.
So if I could add on really quickly to this, me, Villian, and Manatsu, when we were watching the show, we were super adamant on this is the episode where the betrayer is exposed,
Yeah, it
and we
was.
were arguing super hard on who we thought it was. I still thought it was Courier. I think Dylan, you were like on the fence whether it was
I was kind of on
Doctor
the
or
doctor.
Hacker.
I was on the doctor train or the hacker train. Yeah.
I know you were mentioning Hacker because we were arguing like, why would he give the drone to Swindler, and
I was like, is
blah
it
blah
like a
blah, all
spy
this
kit?
shit. And Manatsu's like, oh, it's Doctor. Like, there's no way it's not. We're like, what? Like, I was like, I could see it, but like, I don't know. Would that be too obvious? And no, I thought they did it really well.
Oh
Okay,
yeah, for sure.
in
The
my like as soon as I saw Hoodlum come back and he was perfectly fine, in my head I was like, "Yo, is it Hoodlum?"
okay.
There was just no way.
There
Like,
was no
there was
chance, but
no
if they pulled that
justification
off,
for it.
if they exactly how big of a
It's a good
twist would that have been?
misdirection.
I guess, but like,
Okay,
it
but
And he's
like,
just like, "Ha ha ha!
I feel like that
fucking
would have
told
been
you guys."
too
Like,
let's
too like 180, right?
how complete dog shit is the female executioner, by the way?
What do
That
you
she,
Like,
well,
mean?
no, they're
she's
gonna
Caught by a
really
surprise
hurt.
attack.
they're
She's
gonna go
really
back.
She was
hurt.
like crippled, like
No, they're
limping her
gonna go
ass onto
back
the
and they're gonna be
scene.
like, they're gonna go
I don't
back
think it
and
was
they're gonna
that
be
simple
like,
either. Yeah,
they're gonna
she
be like,
hasn't
"Oh, we're both
done a
breathing."
single
Like,
thing.
no,
I think she did it to herself.
She's not dead. I
I
know
think
that.
she
But
did.
she's
I
not
think she did
dead.
it to herself. I don't think he
But
did it to
like,
her.
she's done absolutely nothing every single time she's been there to fight these guys.
What?
She's
no,
been
she's
completely useless.
She's got memed on. Like,
Her master was literally 1v9ing. Like,
okay, she beat the shit out of Brawler, and then Brawler gets up from behind her and throws her into Doctor, who puts her to sleep in the train. Like, what do you want her to do about that? Like, not
be
get
better at your
yeeted?
job.
Like, dude,
You're an
Brawler held his own
executioner.
with
You're supposed to kill
Master.
someone.
Brawler held his own with Master, dude. Give her some credit, dude.
But,
Don't put disrespect on her name.
Yeah, good show.
but
Oh,
the scene with the backstory of the kid was really like, we were like, oh no, like fuck. And I thought it was really well done and really good. The thing I was a little weirded out about though was I don't understand Doctor's demands for betraying the Akudama. Well, I mean, she had no ties to them, of course, but her reasoning was to get taken off the Akudama list.
Mhm.
Why
What does
would
she
that
want?
she
do
got money.
anything
Then she's just
though?
not targeted, I guess. And
She
She's
can go
not
live a high-
targeted and she could
she can live a
probably
high life
practice
now.
more.
she has
But
all this money.
considering if she would just go do a crime again, wouldn't she just go right back on
Yeah.
the list?
If
The
yeah,
idea is that she's probably like past that point, and
She
she
just
wants
got
to
$1
just
billion.
have a clean record now. Oh, she has $1
Unless
billion.
she's actually going to be
So
working with
that
the executioners
that
to like
so
help close wounds.
I get that, and that makes sense, sure. Except for the fact that I remembered from the first scene when she was introduced, where she randomly murdered people on a train.
Yeah. It's so the other part that like I've been thinking about is that I understand that she has to not let on that she's the traitor, but why go to such extents to like heal everyone else in the Akadama if you're gonna betray them all anyway? Like like why not like
The
can't like obviously she has to fix herself up, right? Uh but I feel like she could have gotten away with not fully like being as helpful as she was to the group. Uh, but I guess it's the matter of if they catch on, she gets blown up.
Well,
I think it's also
so
like a matter of like figuring out like when's the right time to do it,
Yeah,
right?
and she
And
needs to
also
cut
like
could've-
their best to
and
get it
also
there.
she wanted to know more
That's true.
constantly about what the goal was. I think for her own reasons, because like she said, she also had a moment in the episode where she was looking at like the kids and we're like, this is everyone's goal is to find a cure for all diseases, right? This is every doctor's or every like person who's practicing medicine's goal is to fix issues, right, with health. and who knows? Like maybe she's like the double agent. Maybe she's like she's got her own agenda clearly, and the fact that it's this decisive and we have no fucking clue just tells how good this show is that it keeps our interest still. You
Okay,
know?
but another big point. So she's fixed herself like 4 times that we've
Yeah.
seen, and
Yep.
she has never had any issues with any of the things she's done. She fixed Cutthroat. She fucking sewed his legs back on. There's been no problem. But the one time she helped Brawler, almost immediately the
That's
wound
true.
opened back up.
That's true.
There's no way she fucked that up. She intentionally she didn't fuck up a healing like that when she fucking fixed someone's legs.
I agree, and I think she knew he was the biggest threat. That's also why she asked what happened to him. Because he's just the biggest like raw like threat to her.
Oh yeah, he
Yeah.
would have
I guess
absolutely
actually,
obliterated her if he was
Cutthroat
still
kind of
around.
is too though. Like Cutthroat
Yeah.
kind of just insane. By the way,
He loses a leg again this episode.
no, he gets
Dude,
stabbed in the leg. He
Cutthroat.
doesn't lose the leg.
Oh,
He gets
yeah.
stabbed through the leg.
He's
I
so
Cutthroat's
cool.
a fucking badass.
I'm so happy he's here because
I'm so terrified of him.
I really do think if it wasn't for Cutthroat, the action right now would be a lot lacking because Brawler's not here, because I really don't enjoy Courier's action scenes. However, the scene where where he points the gun behind the guy's head, I don't remember the one-liner he delivers, but it's really fucking good. And
You
Oh,
it
gonna
shoot.
just-
ignore the scene where he fucking uses his bike like Cyclops? It just yeets a big laser into the ceiling.
yeah,
He's done that a lot though. He took out the entire roof of a 7-star hotel earlier
I
with
just
that
think
thing.
he's the most boring to watch when it comes to
I
his
I mean,
action.
yes.
He's gritty.
Until he pulls out
He's
his
still
robo hand and
wild.
just starts
He's just
fucking
gritty.
catching fucking lightsabers and
It's
shit.
true.
Yeah, but he's not Cutthroat who caught a dagger thrown or I guess it's a scalpel.
Scalpel. Yeah.
Thrown by Doctor right before it hits his bay and is like, you realize this is war, right? Like this man's like, you do
made
not
a
mess
fatal
with who he
mistake.
sims.
Swindler
man.
gets complimented by a couple of the executioners because she doesn't get murdered by them right away, and they're like, "Good job, Swindler," and she's just like, "Please stop killing me," or
Please
trying
don't.
to. So they're in a rocket ship now. Do we think
Yeah.
they're going to another part of Kansai? Do we think they're going to Kanto? Do we
I have no fucking
That shit was
idea
not
where that
going up,
shit's
is all I could
going.
tell. That was going on an arc. We going.
like my brain either thinks they're going to another part of Kansai, or they could potentially land in Kanto, or they
Kanto,
meet
yeah.
Hacker, and then they have to. Like, I imagine next episode's a jailbreak episode, kind of. But I also can't imagine the Akadama get captured and they aren't just murdered on the spot. I feel like that's a very big mistake by
Oh,
the executioners that they do
they're not
that.
getting captured.
But
They have
I mean,
license to kill here.
they caught fucking Cutthroat.
and look how well that went last
Mm,
time.
I mean, they caught Cutthroat.
And then they
and
did a
like,
public execution and it went so great.
Yeah,
I feel like that was
maybe
all
that's
part of
something in
the-
like the rules where it has to be a public execution or some shit. I don't know.
It's probably
the
the
thing
control
is,
of the public.
no. The thing is, though, Cutthroat knew that this was going on, though somehow, right? Like, because when he got the case, he immediately put the collars on, right?
Mhm.
So he knew that this was part of the plan after he got captured. We did mention that, like, you guys should just killed me when you first captured me,
Mhm.
which, yes, God, it shows so insane.
We don't know if Doctor was always with them
Yeah, we don't know when that.
or when she changed sides.
Yeah.
Because like Pablo said at the very beginning, she literally murdered an entire train car full before she even found out about this mission. So I do think that there's a possibility that she like snuck off somewhere like halfway, because we don't see them the entire travel type distance. But yeah, I definitely think she like learned of this halfway through and she was like, "Oh, this is a good opportunity for me," type deal.
I'm interested to see where this show goes. I think really solid episode this week as per usual. Do we got any other thoughts?
I feel like there's a 0% chance Doctor gets out unscathed here. I think the Akadama stab her in the back, or the the executioner stab her in the back, because why would they let a criminal free?
They have
Yes.
to keep up their packs and deals.
No, they don't.
They'll clear her off the Akadama list, but they never said they
they're-
wouldn't do anything else after that.
Yeah, they're putting her in the fucking morgue list. Like, I
They're
don't,
literally
like-
called the executioners. I don't know. Like,
yeah, I don't think they give a shit.
Here's our fun fact about next week's episode. It is called Black Rain, and it is based off of a 1989 film. It is an I had it before. I think it's like basically it's based off of the concept is there's a Japanese an infamous yakuza mob boss who's basically who's been apprehended, and then like the mob comes and breaks them out and tries. It's
Yeah, they're
basically
transporting him.
yeah, it's basically a transportation like prison escape style film. So we'll see how much influence that has over next week's episode, but that's where the inspiration comes from for its name. To answer or buddy Tiny Tot's question in chat, who has the biggest Mario milkers in this show? It's Doctor. If you don't count
100%.
Brawler's massive chest.
Rest in peace.
Brawler's in the death list. He is he's been slain. Yeah, we just don't talk about it anymore.
Me.
So it seems solid week for Akadama. Do we want to move on?
Yes.
I'm down.
Okay.
Wait,
Next episode
unless
now.
my show next.
Oh, it is your show next.
It
Let's
is
talk
your
about
show.
the day I became a god.
Shit. Okay, all right, fine.
It was so exciting.
All right. So this
Exciting.
episode, this episode of The Day I Became a God
Mhm.
started out with Hina telling Yoda, it's like, yo, I think Sora might have done something. And he's like, what? It's like, she made a new movie thing. And he's like, oh, fuck. So they go to Sora and she's like, I made a movie, like, look at it. And they're like, fuck
Or
yeah.
don't. Or don't.
And Yoda is just like, fuck yeah. Because he just wants to so bad. And he's looking, he's like, this is amazing. And they're like, all right, how do we act it out? And she's like, oh, we got to get staff and the people to like actually run it. I'm like, okay. And Hina's like, I'm playing the main role. And I'm like, wow, you suck at acting. She's like, oh, no. So they get all their friends together then, and they're like, all right, you do this, you do this. The ramen girl is there, yes, yes. And
yes.
they figure out you know, the roles to help make this fucking movie. Yota ends up being the dude. It's like the story's like it's fucking hold on. The story's like there's a guy and a girl, and the girl can save the world from the brink of destruction.
It's your generic anime, fantasy
sounded-
anime.
Yes, and so Hina's playing the girl, but they had to figure out the guy to play the second cast. I don't know what not the lead, but the
Supporting.
Supportive main character, supportive male character.
the main supporting male character. Yes. And they're like, Yoda, you gotta fucking do it. He's like, oh, well, okay, fine. And then the lawyer chick's there for some reason. Again, she has nothing better to do, I guess. Even though she claims to have better things to do. And she's like, I want to be the main heroine because Yota's the supporting role. And they're like, he was like, no, I'm doing it. And she's like, how about we have an act off? And they're like, okay. So then they don't do that, and they just ignore that plot point forever. And she's like, all right, go take my black card and go buy the props and the sets and the stuff. And they're like, okay. So then they go buy outfits and whatever, and they go to set up the scenes, and they're just doing like some movie scenes, and it's like all super dramatic and shit, and like the camera angle is just so unnecessary. Like, the animation randomly jumps up to HD during it too. Like it's just like what the fuck.
What the fuck is those eggs?
They're just doing like some of these dumb scenes. There's some like funny comedic moments in them where they just think that they're acting funny, or the way that they say their lines are dumb. There was the scene with Izanami kept saying Your Highness, and it kept switching the scenes. Hold on, someone's coming my room.
Who wants to continue? Anyone else? Anyone else pay attention enough to continue?
Yeah, I want to. No,
Yeah,
this
yeah,
is, no,
yeah,
this
yeah.
is important.
Eggs.
This is important. Let Dylan.
Yeah.
We have to let
Well,
Dylan.
I
It
mean,
would be wrong.
I think
of
Dylan
us.
forgot to mention the most important character that came back this episode, though.
Yeah.
Moneylender came back.
Moneylender.
Yes,
So-
that is true.
Oh
We're
yes,
really
the
hyped.
boy. I did
Moneylender
like that.
turned good and is now
Yeah.
a good
I'm just
Christian
saying,
boy.
He looked
He's
kind of cute.
kind of good looking.
He cleaned
Oh, okay.
himself up.
I was like, oh, can lend me some money anytime.
But yeah, eggs, they looked really good.
Look at these eggs.
Look at these eggs. They're pretty good.
Look at this
Like-
I
graph.
mean, she's not good at making them, but
So sorry,
Nope.
I'm back.
Welcome
we
back.
just, we
welcome
just
back.
talking about Moneylender. How you doing?
Yeah, you forgot Moneylender.
Yeah, but why? I don't know why he was fucking there, but he was there, and he looked.
Yoda just randomly had his card.
and he was
No, I think he just
dashing.
showed up. I don't think Yoda
He was
invited him.
he was dashing, by the way.
So you're
But
talking about Izanami.
so yes, there was a scene where Izanami kept saying "Your Highness" in different scenes because they were practicing the CGI effect, and I don't know why. But the fucking scene where she's just in the middle of the street and people are crossing by, I actually laughed so fucking hard, and I hate to admit that. But um, they finish out the movie scene, and there's this egg cracking scene that just looked. I was like, what are they doing? And she actually doesn't know how to fucking crack an egg, so she's just slamming the fucking egg onto the bowl. It's going everywhere in perfect HD, by the way, because that's what they do. Um, and Yoda's like, "Oh shit," and he like puts his arms around her. Like, I don't know why. Like, you're fucking practicing a golf swing, and obviously it's pretty clear now that Hina likes him. Like, yes, and that fucking ends. And then they're like, "All right, cool. See you tomorrow." Um, scene switch, and now we're over to the fucking hacker dude for some goddamn reason. So the hacker dude's just like trying to like do everything illegal. He's like getting into fucking buildings. He's knocking out fucking lab workers like what the to fucking get in their labs and shit. He finds a fucking because he's looking for the physicist dude. By the way, still that's like still the thing he's doing, and he finds a letter that has his address, the physicist's address. So they go to his house, but his house is getting fucking demoed for the past month. So like, oh, where's all his shit? And they're like, oh, it's in the fucking junkyard. Like, oh fuck. So they run to the junkyard, and he's just digging through garbage. And he's like, oh, you mean that trash that we're about to throw out over there? And he's like, fuck. So he runs over and he fucking jumps into the meat grinder to get it, and almost dies if it weren't for his fucking clutch as shit bodyguard who's like fucking jacked as fuck because he can hold a dude up with one arm. Um, but that ends, and he's walking away. And I think the show pretty much ends with him walking away with the shit he got, and it's a photo of the physicist holding hands with little girl Hina.
Mm-hmm.
How could a god also be someone's daughter? Doesn't make sense.
So there's an important thing here as well. When he goes to figure out the address of the physicist, he finds out he's working with a company that is looking into treatments of like illnesses and diseases.
It's something like immune
systems.
system
Mhm.
something, yeah.
By the way, 6 days till the world ends.
Yep.
6 days.
6 days. And we have not finished this movie plot yet, so that seems.
So yeah,
You know
there's
what?
that.
Just hit
Okay.
me.
Yeah. So I'm beginning to think after this episode, like my summary was fucking stupid and all, but I was actually thinking on this episode, is she gonna die in 6 days?
That's what I was about to say too. It's her world ending.
Look, I'm not gonna say that I've been saying it, but
I said it too.
I know. I know I'm not the only one, but
Is this show like randomly gonna destroy me? Like I don't understand.
yeah.
No, we've
Yeah,
known from the beginning the
yes.
show is gonna destroy us.
What do you mean
I mean,
destroy us?
Based on this studio. Well, not you, Dodge. You have no emotional value or
It's
connection
destroying
to
my
anything
mental
going
sanity.
on.
Does that count?
It's what led you to having 0 shows on this podcast.
God.
It destroyed you in a different way.
Also, fun fact, I don't know if we mentioned, but this show's episode titles are all The Day X.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Is that true? What the
Yes.
fuck?
Yeah, the first episode is The Day I Met a God. I don't remember what any of the other ones were, but I assume episode 12 is going to be called The Day I Became a God.
I'm gonna fucking scream if that's the case, but
Oh
I'll,
shit, you're
do it.
right.
I'll talk quickly on it. I think this is one of the weaker episodes towards its beginning. One of the things I do like about it is that this show uses its full cast. Like it introduces people and makes them important, and they kind of stay relevant to fill out like what they need for each episode, which I think is nice. And odd at times, like when we get people like Moneylender who come back.
My boy.
He had a change of heart. Come on.
Yeah, but but I also think the stuff going on at the end of the episode here at the hacker, I think we're finally gonna have that plot line converge in, and I think the show's solid this week. I don't really have any problems with it. And that's more than I can say for a couple of other things this week. So
Yeah,
those are
that's
my
fine.
thoughts.
I thoroughly was like actually had to think during this fucking episode, and I was like, I didn't like how they went back to the movie plotline from the second episode, but then I was like actually enjoying the movie plotline because like it was actually kind of well done in the sense of like this actually kind of looks like a fucking movie like production. Um and then after fucking seeing the photo, I was like, how the fuck is the scientist connected to her, which is connected to Yoda's family, right?
That
Which is
is the
connected
weird
to her
part.
being omniscient.
Yeah. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? It was good to see the hacker again doing his hacker, like godly hacker shit that is like weirdly not anywhere, technology hasn't been seen anywhere else in the world. It's just fucking cool. And I don't know, it's just I like it. I thought it was good. It's interesting to see like where this newfound fucking information is gonna come from of like, is she gonna be the one that fucking dies? And it's gonna be really fucking jerky? And it's just I don't know. I have no idea.
I will say this entire episode, the moment we saw Hacker, I was like, "Oh, cool, he's back." Because me and Sean made a joke because we watched a lot of these shows together.
We
At
did.
the beginning
I
of the
did
episode, we're
say
like,
this.
we're like, we haven't seen the Hacker in a while, and Sean's like, did they just forget they made that a plot line? You're just gonna completely ignore it? And then like 5 minutes later, the Hacker pops up.
Yeah.
We're like, oh,
I was like,
he's
what if
here.
they,
We
I was like,
found him.
what if they just write that
Yeah.
plot
Like,
line out of the show?
You
Yeah.
knew he was
But then I was in there
eventually gonna
like,
come back, but
it-
like at the
then I'm
same
like,
time, like
how does the Hacker connect to this group? What does that mean? And then the episode ends, and I go, oh, I
so,
see.
so guys, we have 7 days left, or
Six.
6.
7 or 6, one of
I
those.
think it's
Something
six.
like that.
Episode 8, 6 days. 9, 5. Episode 10, 4 days. Episode 11, 3 days. Episode 12, 2 and 1. If they go an episode a day, they maybe having an additional one carry over once or twice. It finishes out at this point with the episode count. Just a note.
yeah.
I don't. Oh no.
Well,
This
this
is
show
no.
really feels like it's winding up for like an Angel Beats type ending,
Uh-huh.
but without
Uh-huh.
any investment in any of the characters,
Oh, wait, you're not investing in the ramen shop, girl? Hold on, what the fuck?
except for the hot chick. But like, I other than that, I'm just like, yeah.
I will say my
It's
biggest
6 days. It's 6 days.
6 days. Yeah.
Just confirmed it.
My biggest problem, the only thing that I kind of have an issue with, but I don't think the show's gonna do it. Obviously, Hina's head over heels for our protagonist here. He still very much does not have that attraction to her. It's not very appreciative to me that the cast this episode is like, yeah, you and Hina, huh? Huh? I'm not the biggest fan of those moments. I hope this, because I much prefer him to stay with Izanami. So my hope there is that we don't dive into that relationship, but we'll see how the show does. That's like the one thing right now that I think I would dislike with the show.
That's a good input.
Haha,
picking
my
Wally.
mic has been muted. Haha.
Aha!
That usually helps for having opinions. Tommy, do you have any opinions?
I genuinely I like this show. I don't think it's a bad show. This episode, like someone said, it was one of the weaker ones, I think. But
Yeah.
I don't know. It wasn't a bad watch. Definitely not as bad as some of the other episodes this week. But I like what I think it was either Pablo or Jackman said, where it was like the end of the world. I think it's gonna be her dying, which I don't know how ready I'm gonna be for that, but I'm looking
Something
forward to
is
it.
gonna fuck us up,
I'm good.
and I am
do
not
it.
fucking prepared
I'm
for
so
it.
ready for the
I'm
show to
literally about
die.
to finish your lie in April, and then I gotta fucking watch this show randomly destroy me. I'm just gonna be like, she was so annoying though.
You're, you're gonna be in this mental state of fuck. I'm already fucked up from watching this one show, and it's gonna be the one episode you immediately go into it, and you're just tear jerked the entire time. You're like, I hated her, but I love her.
Yeah, see, the problem is, like, in order to have those moments, though, you have to have characters you care about.
You say that,
Okay.
but
I really just-
Taiso made me feel something for that fucking bird, and I hated its guts. So
That is so true.
It managed to do it.
I just, I don't know. Maybe I'm just an insensitive prick, which is highly possible. But like, I really just have no attachment to any of the characters in this show besides Ramen Girl.
Hey, 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 hey.
And I really just don't see how it's gonna change that. Like, I'm just not a fan of the characters in the show. Like, honestly,
That's fair.
What if Ramen Girl is the doctor of Akadama Drive?
What?
I'd still stick my dick in that crazy. All right, next question.
Whoa!
What do you
Okay, but
mean
he
by
can
that,
say shit like
Jackman? I'm
that,
so
but I said it
confused.
like 2 episodes ago, and then like,
Is she gonna
guys
like
had a fucking
stab
cow.
Hina? Is that what you mean? I don't understand.
Yeah, like what if she's a secret agent and is just like
Here to
double
take
crossing
Leo back to
everyone?
the Chinese Federation.
Yeah.
let's not. Let any other thoughts about David
Oh
Kip
my
God?
god.
No, let's move on. Am I next?
Jackman, talk to
Fuck.
me about Iwakaru.
Okay, you don't have to be upset about explaining shows because yours ones are fucking easy.
That's true. Essentially, it shows from the perspective of immediately where we left off at. And their June is failing to climb her last goal, but at the same time the captain sees her and the captain is now continuing her climb. She I think she like gets on the first hold of it. She immediately like sprains her hand or like fingy and
Thingies.
It's her fingy.
like
Her
pulled
middle
something
fingy.
some tendon in her finger, and she is now having this struggle of climbing these walls. um and she successfully does the first one. She then moves to the second one. I think she does that one as well. I think she does 3. She does 3 full sends, and I think the last one she only did half of it. um and she after she's done, she gets down. She encourages the crowd to cheer for her so that she can get rid of the pain, but then causes more pain. um and the red hair girl, after they're done, they come and congratulate each other. They see the fucking scores. Izanami, I think, purple haired chick.
Konami?
She
Konami?
Different
Konami?
show.
Konami. That's
Different
what it
show, my
is.
dude.
Too many purple haired people, right? Gamer girl, I should put her that way. She actually beats the Black Panther girl from one of the other schools. And is in 4th place. I assume Captain was third place.
She was third.
Spider Chick got first, and I think
Panther.
her other lackeys also made it up there.
One of them.
She was
One
like
of them did.
5 or 6
And then
or
the
whatever.
other 6
Yeah.
places the zombie climber.
Yes. And we then find out that the red hair girl then convinces the captain to drop the team competition, and for gamer girl to just go do her own at the solo competition. And we come to find out she just fails. She fails at almost everything. I don't think she succeeded a single one of them. And the spider team wins the team competition, and they're sad and they walk out and they talk about what's next. June leaves the fucking team for the meantime to train on her own, which is interesting. And now the 3 of them are training for nationals, high school nationals, and they will probably go into another training arc. But this time we see that it is all of the different aspects of rock climbing. You've got speed bouldering or speed climbing, bouldering, the other aspects of it,
Lead.
all into one tournament, which I think is be pretty cool. And that's, I think, about it really. They go on wanting to continue and to become better with their failures of this time.
Who wants to talk first?
This show kind of pissed me off this week.
Oh, I'm so glad I'm not alone on this one.
Okay, yes and no. I agree, but go on, Tommy.
Okay, like we said last week, we wanted to see some things coming from this episode or coming from this show. And one of them being they wanted to see the captain just full send all the problems, no problem, right? Like no issues whatsoever. And for the most part, I feel like that was pretty doable. However, they just had to make it so that she happens to sprain her finger in a
She tore a ligament.
competition.
It's fine.
Like, okay, sure, whatever. I don't care what she did, but like, fuck that noise. Like, it, I don't know. That was bullshit. I don't care. Like,
Okay. Okay.
like it it blew my mind. And then also the fact that I don't even know did they even mention that girl's name, the creepy spider bunny ear bitch? Like, did they mention her name at
She
all
has a
ever?
name.
Yes.
She has a name.
Starts
I
with an
just
I.
don't
I
remember
think.
it.
Starts with an I.
Yeah.
Iwamine?
They talk about her a
Something.
lot,
Possibly.
but like we just don't like her, so we just don't pay attention.
She creeps
Okay.
around a little bit this episode.
She creeps around. That's what creepers do. But the fact that they basically showed her ascending all like 3 of them in like 4 seconds of the show, and we're like, yep, this she can do it. Yep. And next scene, like, I was just like, okay, so apparently these aren't as difficult, but nobody was able to send all 4 except for our person that's been rock climbing for a month and someone that would have been able to but sprained her finger or tore a ligament, whatever. Uh, and also the main villain. Like, it's just it didn't make sense to me. And then
Sorry.
June having her own issues, like deciding to leave. Um, but
Real quick. She didn't send the 4th one.
Yes.
Yeah,
She
only sent
failed on the
first
4th
3.
one. She
You got
only
3 sends,
succeeded
0
3.
zones.
okay.
And then
Oh,
like
yeah.
we also saw so one of the things I liked about this episode,
The
I
cat.
think
Sorry.
I think we wanted to see one of two things: either the captain's no problem it, or the captains also struggle to show difficulty. But like mostly, like we wanted to see them succeed, so that way it doesn't like overpower Konami, right? To a degree, which I think they did a better job of balancing, like the power scaling in this show. I guess is how I'll call it. Because like all the captains did all right, except for the Black Panther who we saw struggled a bit, right? Because she was feeling the pressure. Basically the same issues June struggles with, but like to a like higher degree of like holding herself to the highest standard because she has to be the best, right? For like whatever, she's worried about being like shunned or whatever. I think the injury stuff we kind of saw coming. But like it does feel kind of forced and contrived. But like, I mean, I think it's something that like it's kind of like it's a given for a sports anime, right? That like the senpai got hurt, so I have to perform in their place kind of thing. That we see all the time in sports shows. But I think I both loved and hated this episode because I liked that they kind of plowed through like the finals and stuff, right?
Yes.
Because like we've seen the climbing, we've seen the shit. We don't really care. Like show us the results and like move on to like the training arc. Like I'm fine with that because I'd rather like take this one episode, plow through this part, don't show much of the climbing, but like kind of be like, okay, here's the results, here's what happened, show a little bit of the struggles of the characters and the growth of some other characters, and move on. Because like the show's only gonna get 12 episodes. There's no season 2 for this shit. And it has some good, okay moments,
Are
right?
you
Like
sure about
I'm sure about that.
that?
It shouldn't.
Incredible. I
It
I
shouldn't.
don't see how this show completes itself in 12 episodes.
I
It
I
do
don't
should.
think
because
I don't think it
it's just
I don't
etchy
think it
trash.
I don't think it needs to, like.
I don't think it really needs to either. But yeah,
Mm.
like but like they had some okay moments, with like the Black Cougar chick being like the tramp is here, and like I think she meant the champ, but it's fine. I like when the wordplay actually can translate okay. And then like we saw Konami get crushed by the expectations, and like there is like that actual like feeling of performance fatigue, like if you've ever been in front of like a crowd and like you don't realize how much that takes out of you until like afterwards, or like at some point like through the like a competition, like that shit actually like drains you so fast, like actual competition compared to like just like anything else. Which I felt that before in different parts, but like um yeah, I thought this episode was okay. I didn't think it was like that great or that terrible, but like it was just kind of a lot of like, yeah, I expected as much. Okay, yeah, I expected this to happen. Okay, yeah, I expected her to struggle at this point. Like she clearly is like donezo. So it's like I thought this was an okay episode. Like it wasn't like anything spectacular, but I think it's okay to set up for the conclusion of this show, basically.
This episode was mediocre at best. It had like 1 or 2 good scenes in my opinion, and it had like 5 bajillion because it cut through like 7 million things at the speed of sound. we had an entire 3-minute mini arc about the Black Panther, which was talked about like 2 episodes ago, then completely ignored for an episode. Then we have this mini thing about her, which was interesting. I thought it was fine that she has this whole like redemption arc, getting to the top in the finals when she fucked up really hard in the semis. Um, and my only other scene I thought was really good was Konami going to do the first finals wall, analyzing it, going, okay, I can do this, going to take her first step and just immediately falling. Because it shows she does not have the ability to do these walls. She may have the analytical ability, she just physically cannot do them. It doesn't matter how much she can, like, she's like, ah, yes, I know how to do this wall. I know to do this move and this move. Her body just can't do it, which is the blocking point we thought we needed to hit. It's weird how the show's pacing has been wild because we took like 2 episodes to get through, or 3 episodes to get through the like preliminaries, like 3 or 4 episodes to get through the
And her
preliminaries and
climbing
half
a
of the
wall.
semifinals. Then we had an episode to get through the second half of the semifinals through the entire finals, and it just went super fast. And
So
I was not a fan.
unless there actually is going to be a second season of this, we know for a fact from the very beginning
no.
she goes to the Olympics at some point. She becomes a national representative of Japan. That we do know from the very beginning.
Was that not just nationals?
No, it was Japan.
Oh shit.
We can conduct that something would happen, right, to get to that point, because this is her telling her story of how she got there, which I personally really enjoyed that first aspect. And
Shit,
seeing
we're
how
really just in
she
the backstory arc.
just started, yeah. I completely forgot about that until I rewatched the first episode.
Well, that is the particular reason I don't think this show's ending in 12 episodes. Because I don't see how you get to that end mark that they set for us. Because that's the whole reason the redhead in the audience is there, the one who goes Kura Kurisu. Like, cause she's the big competition at the end that we see Konami up against. Like, she's the top of the top for rock wall climbing, but she's like not in their sector or their district of competition. So like Konami has to get to that point. I don't see that in the amount of episodes we have, while also resolving the fact that the rest of this team has to fucking do something. Like, they should all have character development before the show ends, because I don't appreciate the way this team is being treated. Dylan, do you have thoughts before like I go into my stuff?
Wait, what are you saying about the way they're being treated? What do you mean by that?
Like I don't. When we are introduced to Konami's team, the captain is supposed to be one of, if not the best climber, and the team does really well in team competitions, is what's been described to us. June immediately falters this competition. The other member immediately falters in the qualifying rounds, and the captain gets injured before the finals for this singular competition. I don't see why their team has to have it happen this way, because to me, I I don't like the captain's injury here because I'm expecting her to get injured again, because she has that leg injury when we see her flashback, and
We
that's
think.
where I expected that to go, was that she'd be fine for this competition and she's going to get injured and it's going to be up to Konami to succeed later, as well as June. uh so like I'm not going to be a fan if that injury thread gets reused for her again. uh I'll just kind of go through everything. I really don't like this episode for this show. I think if you're gonna focus on the Black Panther captain and you're going to try to make like her climb important to her and her team, we should see more than her climbing one wall. Like, we should see her climb. We should see her do well. Like, she clears the first wall of the finals, and then we see Konami fall, and we go, that's enough. You don't need to see anything else in the final. And that seems silly to me, because a sports show doesn't only have to look at your main casts for competition. We should kind of understand the levels of the rest of the groups. And if she is just that good to climb everything else to take first, I would have liked to seen it than be told it, just by going and finals and here's your top three.
Yeah, they
Because
could have at least like cut between like, and she completes the second wall and the third wall, and like they do in like sports anime, you know.
Oh,
yeah,
Like they could have
I
cut between like the wall. Like we literally saw the one wall, and that was it. The
I
first wall of the finals.
okay.
Like
am personally not a fan of the final
I
showcase.
understand where you're coming from there, but my problem with that is that I personally knew that this wasn't the last competition the show was going to give us this
Oh no, I don't disagree on
season.
that.
I wanted this competition to end this episode. I don't care how it happened because I
Mhm.
want an actual setup for the next competition because obviously it's just this is like the fucking regional like high school districts shit. Like this isn't even
Mhm.
like that competitive, I feel like. I think it's a good taste of what to expect further down the line from this etchy fucking rock climbing show, by the way. But I don't think that makes it bad this episode because they rushed it out. They showed each climber do their thing on like one wall or whatever. I mean, did you want them to do more? I didn't fucking want to watch one more than one of them climb. I'll be honest. Like I didn't give a shit how fucking good the Panther chick is at jumping. Like I don't care. But I'm glad that competition's over, so then I can go to the fucking one that matters,
okay,
right?
but like when's the
Yeah.
bath scene? Like
God. See,
No,
my
they
thing
they
is with
had they had the fucking slam the arm on the wall like pseudo rape scene already, bro. Isn't that enough for you?
Kinda. So my thing with the Panther thing is that though I didn't really want to see the Panther do more because she's not a main character, they pushed this narrative that she was going to be important during this competition, and then felt like they forgot about her for 2 episodes, and then went, "Oh wait, boop," and then threw some stuff in for her. It's
My
like they built an arc and completely forgot about it,
my
and it
my
feels like they should have shown something or just ignored it completely. That they did just didn't work.
my bigger problem with her is that her success overshadows the rest of the team and how they feel because of Konami. Because the whole rest of her team did pretty poor because Konami got in their heads, and then Konami fails to climb that wall, and we see no one's reaction to that fact besides the judges and and like parts of her teams and her own. We don't see how June feels about it. We don't see the main characters whose performances were affected in the semis. Like, we don't see how they react to that, and I think that's important because they were held back by the fact that she just one-shotted 3 walls in the beginning. Like, if you're creating these dynamics between Konami and this ballerina character and Konami and June, why don't we then see that follow-through of I did so poor because Konami got in my head, and then like I want to see how they move as a character past that, and I feel like their reaction to Konami failing is important to that. But I also just think the show doesn't do a good job of fully flushing out its characters the way it should. That's my biggest problem with it, and I feel like I don't hate the fact that this competition ended this episode. I agree with you. I think it should for the show's sake. I just think they should have picked and chose better what they showed. I don't think it played well with what they're trying to express from each climber and team in the competition. I really didn't like this episode personally.
We didn't need a 3-minute scene of the entire crowd slowly starting to cheer for Captain.
I thought that was fine.
I mean,
It
I
just
like
was
that.
super
I think
long.
that's fine. Yeah,
I
I think it was a little bit longer than it needed to be.
It's just the
but
pacing of this episode was either we speed through at a million miles per hour or we spend 3 minutes on a 5-second scene.
I mean,
it was just
it spent
really
more
weird.
time on the characters that the show values more, which I think is just kind of par for the course. I do think it felt really weird, but like, yeah, I think it definitely had to pick one or the other. I think it ran too long for its own runtime in this episode, and it had like it was on a schedule, but like also wanted to try to build characters and you can't do both of those, unfortunately. Like they could have built the characters afterwards, but like not like mid competition while also skipping other ones. Like it did just feel weird. This episode just felt weird. I guess the easiest way to put it.
Yeah, this episode's pacing just didn't fit with the way the rest of the show was paced, which was an issue because they needed to finish the competition by this episode, or else they just can't do another one by the end of the show. But they paced the rest of the competition so slowly that they had to just zoom through this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean it was a show.
I didn't mind the episode that much. I didn't think it was that bad. Like obviously, I think this show is not good compared to some of our other ones, but I didn't think this
Yeah,
episode was bad.
it's kind of a stretch though. Like, there's a few. Sorry, I'm back by the way. There's a few that are just like it's hard to differentiate the three from everything else. And that right now is this show, and maybe one or two others, which I think is the only other two.
Yeah, I'll talk at the end how I feel. In my mind, the show kind of matches up, but
This is probably a conversation for the end. Cool.
Yeah.
We can move on
Yes,
then.
yes,
hey
yes.
Jackman, you're not done yet.
I'm not done yet. Okay, what did I miss?
Jujutsu Kaisen.
Oh,
I normally
perfect.
would do Noblesse here, right?
Yep, right,
Yeah.
right
Mhm.
from one
Shit.
to the
Yes.
other.
Yes.
Shit, I wasn't prepared.
By the
Oh.
way,
This episode, pretty good episode. I felt. I kind of fucking remember it, to be honest with you. Essentially, we start out with an introduction of the other school. We see our good boy, good doggy boy, and best girl. They just got done with their training, and are just out going to buy some drinks. And we get a little snippet of the three seniors talking to each other from walking back from training and discussing how hard it would be, how hard it is for them, just literally witnessing their classmate die in front of them. And we get introduced to the two new characters, which are third years of the other school. And one is the sister of the chick who uses the quarterstaff, and the big beefy brawler type guy. And then we get flashed into the intro, which is the best intro of the season. And they talk about the dude talks with Fishy Guru. And they're just talking about, I don't want you to be a boring person when we fight, so what type of woman do you like? And they talk, and he finds out that he's a boring fuck and rips his shirt off. And the chick that is next to the big muscular dude is crying because she's like, ooh, or not crying, she's like, ooh, you're my type deal. And fucking the big dude just beats the shit out of Fushiguro and just fucking sends him flying. The sister then hugs the best girl, and she has a fucking gun. And we get a little fight scene between the two of them. They talk about their like ideals and whatnot, and we see some more jiu-jitsu, fucking magic, and we see a whole bunch of frogs, which are pretty fucking cool. They all, it's just a big fucking fight scene. I don't know what to tell you. We see just some more fucking just magic. We find out that the brawler dude wasn't even using his fucking full strength. And then we see fucking the third year step in. And fucking how crazy is the dude who only speaks in fucking ingredients. He literally speaks actual words and just sends a fucking beam down. And then Panda Senpai fucking steps in and beats and fucking punches the dude, and is apparently really fucking strong. And we then flash back to the other fight where best girl is getting literally shot up by this fucking crazy chick. And fucking bow staff girl comes up, distracts her, and best girl fucking throws her into a chokehold. And they talk. They're angrily talking, and then they just walk away, leave, and then they talk some more. Best girl kind of enjoys the company of quarterstaff girl. And then we get a little meeting scene between the other headmaster and Gorjo. Essentially,
We're
Gorjo's
not
just
doing
talking.
this again. We're not doing this again. Not 2 weeks
Gojo.
in a row. Gojo.
it's Gojo.
What am I saying? Am I
You're
saying
saying
Gorjo?
Gorjo. We're not
It's
doing this
Gorjo.
again.
I'm
I'm not letting you do this for another 10 minutes.
It's fucking Kakashi, all right.
That's
I'll take
good
it.
enough.
I'll take
I'll
it.
take that's
No,
fine.
it's reverse Kakashi. You kidding me? His eyes are covered.
That's true.
You may just call him white haired dude.
That's
Sorry.
what
Go.
you
Anything
do with
but
everybody else.
Gorjo.
That's what you've been doing with everyone else.
Gojo.
Jackman, say
Call
with
him
me.
Kakashi
Go.
Light. Do whatever.
Joe.
you want.
Gojo,
Just don't call him
Gojo.
Got it, good.
Gojo.
Gojo.
Gojo fucking meets with headmaster of the other school, and blue haired chick is like foundly in love with Gojo.
Who is it?
Fucking, they talk about these unclassified weapons. We see a little snippet of the, I guess, deranged student, I would assume, or of the other school, which is the main villain, I would assume, or one of them. They basically just talk mad shit while the other two third years go to a fucking handshake festival. That scene ends, and we then get immediately brought into a theater where there's just three fucking students, just random students, just dead, and their heads are just all like deformed and shit. And we get a little snippet of the dude with the scars walk up and get confronted by a random student, I would assume, or is able to see the spirits of, I guess, just the curses. And then it ends, and we get back to the blue hair girl. She takes a selfie and then runs back. Doesn't give the master tea, and the end scene credit, the little scene is of her sister at the festival going through the line, getting a handshake, and then is like like seduced, and is like, yeah, she ain't that half bad. That's that.
So Jackman, I'm just gonna I want to like clarify one plot point that we
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
get.
go for it.
While Fushigoro's fighting, I don't remember his name, but
It's
the
like Toto
Toto.
or something.
Toto.
It's
Toto.
Toto.
I have
You're
the
right.
name. Yeah, it's
I
Toto.
call
While
him
he-
Swolio.
While he's fighting Toto, he expresses that there was this big like march from one city to another of this horde of like this night of demons,
Yes.
or curses, and
Yeah.
Toto's one of the people who just bodied a bunch of special grades and first grades,
Like
Gotcha.
100 or something.
throughout
like.
it. But it also, from the conversation with Gojo, it seems to imply that, or I think his name's Goto. He's the guy who
Geto.
Geto. It's Geto. Thank you.
Ghetto.
Geto seems to be the one who orchestrated it, and they seem to know that. So it's sounding more like he's not a student or associated with Jujutsu sorcerers, but he's a major threat that
He's
they know
infamous,
exists.
yeah.
Which is why he said that they couldn't see him, because then they would know they're connected.
Gotcha.
So we're kind of setting up this larger scale antagonist. I think this episode's really good. I think the introduction of the characters are great. I think it's Misaki, right? Or
Maki.
Maki, thank you.
Maki.
Mai and Maki are a great duo for the sisters. We're still missing a couple of characters who I'm sure we're gonna get introduced to. One of them's just with Itadori at the end of the episode. I'm excited to see this. They're doing the same thing this episode they did with the prison episode, where they're like, hard cut, here's what's happening. You'll find out. You'll find, a month later, you'll find
Also
out what
time skip.
happens next episode. So I'm interested for them to fill some of those gaps, so that we kind of understand what's happened in this time frame. We do know that there's like, Gojo holds 3 people pretty high. It's Itadori. I don't have Toto, and then this other person who Okotsu, who I think he's either
I think it's the one we see at the end. I think it's the one we see at the end of end of this episode, who was the second year that was overseas.
The problem with that is his hair's a lot longer than the shots we've seen of him. So I'm not sure if it's him or not, but it kind of looks like him.
I think
wasn't there a month
this kid?
skip?
Yeah.
Isn't this kid at the end of this episode also the one that we see sitting next to Itadori in the opening?
The one we see with Itadori in the opening is definitely the one that Gojo talks about and who's flashed on her screen. The hair's just really long at the ending, and I'm not sure if it's just because there's this period of time from when we see him and what's presented, or if he's gonna cut his hair, if he's in disguise. They look very similar. It's very possible they're the same person. I really like this episode. I think there's not a down point about it. I think it makes sense that our main cast gets their shit kicked in because one of them doesn't have their weapons and the other one is intentionally kind of not giving it his all to kind of just
He's sandbagging.
yeah, he's sandbagging. He did get fucking German suplexed into the ground though, baby.
That is true. That is
That's
very
my favorite
true.
part of
But-
watching it.
but
This man
again-
goes to grab him. Sean Billy goes, "That's a German."
Yeah, he
I fucking lost it.
doesn't even have the grip in. Yeah, I'm like, he's going for a German suplex, baby, and then he does.
That's like the classic anime one,
Yeah,
though,
it's
isn't
so
it?
good.
Like, but like, also the thing that we see again in this episode is another point where Fushiguro is about to pop the fuck off, and the guy he's fighting is like, "Oh, here we go,"
Yeah.
and then is immediately stopped at the end, and we're like, we're just teased just a little bit again of like Fushiguro actually like about to pop off, and then it doesn't get a chance to, and it's so tilting.
Also, we see Panda pop the fuck off on this man.
Yeah.
A little.
We see
He
I just like
fucking,
the-
he
I just-
fucking
I
bopped
just-
him.
We also
I
see
laugh
curse
when
word
he was,
user using curse words for what
At the very that part when Panda hops in, he was like, "I don't speak human language." He's like,
Panda,
This
Panda,
is
Panda.
Fucking great.
I am just Panda, no speak human language.
So this is the same studio that did fucking God of High School Fighting, by the way. The fighting in
good.
this show is insane, I feel like. Just like everything from just like punches to fucking suplexes to fucking the frogs fucking throwing their shit out. Like everything is just so, I feel like, unique in its own way. I like how they do the blood. It's like really vibrant. And like it's like it's very like noticeable type
They do
deal.
not short on the blood in the show.
Yeah.
Mappa's really
I-
good at blood and action scenes.
I love, like I said, how I've always been a big fan of how they go from super diehard serious to immediate comedy or like relief type deal. Just sketches just throughout the entire episode. You see like all three of the ladies are just like looking back at the fucking dude because they're like, how much of a fucking disgrace is this guy type deal. Just like the funny little comments that they do. Just I just enjoy it. Everything about this show I feel like is just done to a T that has been really good so far.
Hey Pablo,
Yes.
there was one thing when we were watching that was a really important talking point that we thought we should bring up here. Do you remember what it was?
Oh fuck.
It's something
Okay.
Toto. It's something Toto said.
Is it the thing that's currently on screen?
It is. It is actually the current. thing
It's
that's on
the screen
screen.
chat, baby.
Now,
Oh, kind
Now,
of. That general. Yeah.
this is an important topic, fellas. That
Oh, yes,
one has
yes, yes,
that
of
has
course,
been
of course,
debated
of
many years. Pablo, would you like to introduce us to this?
Okay, I'll beat the shit out of you if you answer wrong. What type of women do you like?
Yeah. What's
Oh,
your history
no.
women? I mean, we got Spolio here, who's more of a tall woman, big ass guy.
I will literally knee you into the ground, grab your head, and push you through an entire skyscraper if you answer wrong. By the way.
What's your answer then, Pablo?
Nope. No. Doesn't
That's
matter.
not how this works.
Oh, one sec.
You gotta go down. Oh. All right. Let's go. We'll run down the list. Let's run down the list.
This is your show, Jackman. You top
Can
us
you
off.
Oh,
start,
it's my.
Jackman,
I
you
have to
start.
lead this.
You have to lead this. This is your show.
I have
You
to
lead
lead
it.
this.
Jackman's first. Jackman's
Absolutely.
first.
Fuck. All right. Well,
We got.
Obviously, it's gotta
we
be
gotta go
shorter
with
than me.
skyscraper, yay or nay.
it's gotta be shorter than me.
Well, that doesn't help us, Jack. We don't know how fucking tall you are.
I'm 5'8", same size as Pablo.
Sure you
Okay, that's a hard standard.
Kind of slim. Nice ass,
are. Sounds familiar.
but like
Mhm.
kind of perky, you know? Yeah.
Personality? Are we
Best-
talking?
Best thighs are also pretty good. Thighs save lives.
Nice transition.
Can I go next?
Yeah.
Yes, you may. Okay. Wait, hang on. Skyscraper, yay or nay? I vote nay. I think he's
Nay,
clean.
Nay.
nay.
I think it's
he
clean.
dies.
I think
Fuck
he's
yeah,
clear.
fuck that.
He dies. He dies.
Oh,
Wait, what?
Wait.
So I told Jackman I was 5'8". Those are two separate measurements. The type of woman I like.
Died.
Yeah, you like I just said the same thing as you. So like, technically, yeah.
that was
I
a
like-
fucking lie.
Type of woman I'm like. She has to have 10 toes,
Yeah.
10 fingers.
That's
All right, moving
yep.
on. Tommy.
Okay, he's getting yeeted. He's getting yeeted.
What? How?
My
Like by the
type
foot or what?
of my type of woman is one without an X chromosome or a Y chromosome.
Without an X
Without an X,
chromosome.
you got a problem.
I double Y's
Shit,
all the
man, I
way.
ain't either, bro.
I meant Y. Okay, I slipped up.
Okay.
Fuck you guys.
Okay, so you like women who are women, of course.
Yes, that is all.
We treat all women with respect here.
As long as they have no Y chromosome. Yeah. Next.
Instead of Sean, what's your?
Hey, Sean, what you looking at?
Oh,
What you
no.
looking at in the girl or guy
I
or
prefer.
non-binary pal?
I have a
One that looks exactly like his girlfriend. Good job, Sean. Good answer.
Thank you,
Good
thank
answer,
you.
Sean.
I
Good
wasn't gonna,
answer,
I
Sean.
wasn't gonna do it because I thought you guys were gonna fucking flame me for it. But I was basically just gonna describe my girlfriend. That was gonna be the meme.
That's the correct answer.
I was just gonna describe my
I feel like
girlfriend.
that's. I feel like
Hey,
that's. I feel like
hey.
that's the simp answer. No, I think he gets.
Sean,
You
No,
ain't got no
that's the
girl
cor-
to protect.
Look,
then.
it
Listen,
happens.
Tommy.
It
Listen, we
happens
can all
that-
agree that's the easy way out. However, that's also the correct answer to the question for him. So we have to give him a
It
pass.
It
Definitely
also
a cop-out
happens that
answer.
my girlfriend is what I look for in a woman. So I.
Good
I
answer,
am
good
free.
answer,
Good
I'm
job,
free
good
to
job,
elaborate.
Sean.
I am.
Number one on the board.
Kinda simpy.
I don't
Sounds
have
like
a
skyscraper
preference.
to me.
I don't have a preference on height.
I would simplify to girlfriend too. That's
Okay,
the whole
Sean,
point.
Sean.
Uh-huh.
Now that we got our fake answer out,
Yeah.
what's your real answer?
I don't have a preference on height. I am a boobs
Alright,
over
7
ass.
foot
I'm a
tall.
boobs
Okay.
over ass kind of guy. I do
Okay.
not mind and prefer if there is something in both. And I mean, I tend to like them a little bit bigger than me in terms of size. So, as Jackman said,
That's
thick.
because you're a twig.
Thick.
You're like,
Hey, hey, you're right, but thick
Also,
is
that's just-
better.
you
My
need something
girlfriend
to hold
doesn't
on to.
listen to this podcast, so it's fine.
I'm
Uh,
clipping it. I'm clipping it. I'm clipping it.
What's
I'm
her
clipping
name?
it, I'm
Clip it and
clipping
ship it. Clip it and
Send
ship
it.
it.
I can't. And I mean, I tend to prefer more bossy women than pushovers.
You tend to
Oh.
Ooh.
Oh.
I like a woman who can take a stance and tell me what they think.
This man's a my simp. Here we
This,
go.
this man gave like
Yo.
a whole fucking thesis on this.
And it's exactly what
Yeah,
my
that's
and
good.
that
That-
lines
that-
pretty perfectly out with my
Good
girlfriend.
answer.
So
That was a good
love
answer.
love you, babe. You're the best.
Good answer. Good
Gonna
answer.
be
Sean,
4
good
years,
answer.
Good answer.
baby.
Oh,
Who didn't go?
God.
Who didn't go?
Michael and
haven't.
Daj.
I have not gone yet. Would you like to go first, Michael?
Sure. So I don't really care about height. I mean, I don't want them to be like 2 feet taller than me. That's just kind of weird. 'Cause I'm
Okay,
fucking
you said-
short.
Picks you
Someone
up like
said
a little
feet, just
baby.
wondering,
Are you guys
I
all
didn't-
short here?
I'm like
I'm like-
5'10", 5'11".
Okay.
I'm like 5'7", maybe
You guys
something
are
like that.
short as shit.
Yeah, I'm
Jesus
short
All
as
right.
shit.
All right. All
All right,
right.
Mr. Like 6'2" Tommy 2 time over here. Like
6'3", get it right.
So
What the
and for
fuck?
me, like personality wise, I like the nerdy ones because you
And
know
those are
that's
separate
me.
measurements.
And
Sorry.
I'm a tits over ass kind of guy.
Fair, fair,
I mean,
fair.
I don't know. I like people with good personalities. I don't really know. I'm boring.
If I could add
Yeah.
in quickly, tits or ass obviously is one of the bigger arguments, but no one discusses feet. I feel like we have to discuss.
Hey, I said
Okay,
thighs.
so-
I said
okay,
thighs.
So
my
Daj,
man.
Daj,
think
about
thighs
you.
crept into the
Daj,
conversation
about
over here.
you. Let's
I-
ignore.
and
I'm gonna mute
silence-
him soon. Ignore him.
I'm silenced once again. Like I bring this
We'll get to the
conversation up.
feet. We'll get to the
every
feet with
night.
Wandering Witch.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
so-
that's
Yes,
that's
yes,
saved.
yes.
That's saved. We'll talk about this. We'll bring that back up.
Now, a wise man once said to me, "Listen, a woman with large tits and no ass doesn't look quite right in proportionally, but a woman with a large ass and no tits still looks fine. And while that may be the case, I'm still a breast man."
Did you just serve repeat, Pablo?
It won't let me.
Moving
What?
on.
What did I do? I didn't
Wait,
say
wait,
anything.
time out, time out, time
It
out,
wouldn't
time out,
let
time out,
me.
time out, time out, time out,
Okay,
time out.
but
Can we
girls
just,
with big
can we
feet
just,
or
wait,
clowns,
wait,
just
wait.
saying.
Can we just go over the fact that Daj just said a woman with no ass but tits doesn't look proportionate, but a woman with ass and no tits looks
It does.
fine.
Okay.
Have you ever seen? Like?
So what?
So
It's hard to have one
Tommy,
without the other, but like if you're gonna have one without the other, it
Tommy,
doesn't look.
what are
it doesn't
your
look right.
thoughts on Jujutsu
how it is.
Kaisen?
Um,
Oh, that's right. That's the show we're talking
Yeah,
about.
we're still talking about
Shit. I thought we were talking about something else.
And that was this conversation was relevant to the ladies and gentlemen. If you're very confused, again, please look at the additional image I provided for this episode, and then understand two things. One, this had to happen. There was no way around it. We're being held at
Yes.
gunpoint by Dylan. There's no way to escape
What did I
this.
do? What did
And
I?
then 2,
Yes,
please remember that we
please
on the
send
podcast do
help.
not condone slavery. That's also very
Yes,
important to
that's
stress.
that's later.
fair.
That's later.
Tommy,
That's later.
Jujutsu Kaisen.
Good
What are your
show.
Great. I think that is
Next-
exactly what we're
next
so
opinion.
let's go to the next show, guys. We spent enough time here.
No one asked me about my opinion on Jujutsu Kaisen.
All right,
Oh,
Bob,
Dylan,
what's
what
your
did you
opinion?
think of
Kaisen.
Jujutsu Kaisen?
No one was barefoot. Next.
Okay, next show, next show.
I was about to never meet him the moment he
Panda
said
is
it.
technically.
Say it.
Okay, let's talk Taiso Samurai.
Oh God.
This episode of Taiso Samurai, we open up with Leo's backstory. We find out that he is a professional dancer in England and / or London. I don't remember which one. We find that he has left in an attempt to find something he is missing, and the woman who is in charge of his performance, he explains, I'm not ready to come back here to dance. I want to stay in Japan. She says, fine, you have till winter. We then go into the training camp between the Japanese and Chinese teams, and as the representatives are talking to each other, Joe's just kind of fucking around going, hey, this is still here, that's neat, hey, that's still here, that's cool, and then they move into the training area, and everyone else is, meeting each other, talking. He's like, I remember this exact piece of equipment being here, really neat. And then we see Tetsuo challenge Leo, the Chinese top gymnast, to a competition. The two of them compete. Tetsuo gets a 9.6-ish, a fairly high score, and then Leo gets a 9.8. And then Joe walks up. He's like, "Hey, can I do stuff?" And they're like, "Yeah, Joe, go for it." And he does a triple flip, and then he lands it. And he drops off the bar and goes, "I did it! Yes, I did it!" And everyone looks at him and they go, "Joe, what, Joe?" And he's like, "I did it. I'm done. I'm out of here, guys. Thanks." And they
Drop
move
the
on
mic.
from that position. We then see Tetsuo kind of a little frustrated that he's lost to Leo, and then we jump to the last day of the training camp where Akamatsu, the coach, brings in Rei and Leo to come watch. We see there's this purple hair girl from the Chinese team who's she's kept an eye on Joe the whole time, and when Rei walks in, she fixates on her, and then Leo follows Tetsuo as he goes out for a jog, and Leo jogs up to him and goes, "Hey, you remember me? I'm the Leo. How you doing?" And Tetsuo just runs a little faster, and Leo just kind of speeds alongside him, and they just run until they get lost in the middle of the woods. They then kind of try to find their way back, but Tetsuo has no sense of direction, and then they kind of sit down on a bench. It's towards the evening now, and Leo's like, "Hey, why do you do gymnastics? Because Joe does this because it's fun, and he's happy when he does it. You look like you're not having fun. And if it's like the pressure thing, like when you have a lot of people expecting you to be the best, that's a lot of pressure. I don't think that's a good thing to have." And that's what it's like. I do this to win, and that's it. And I'm going to win. And he makes it clear that even though he lost to Leo earlier, he's gonna win by the time this is all over. He's gonna be the best. And Leo's like, "Well, what happens if you fail on your own? Have you ever given thought to I don't know, maybe doing something and working with others?" And Tetsuo wants no part of it. The group they return back. There is a dinner party where Ray goes to get some milk for Joe, and she winds up meeting this girl, Katie Zhang, who is that purple-haired member of the Chinese gymnastics team, who's a huge fan of her mom, and they just start to talk. And then we get to a scene where Joe walks in on Leo practicing while everyone else is at this dinner party. We see him do some flips on the ground, and Leo kind of walks over to Joe and he's like, "By the way, you do not have, monopoly on triple flips. If you think that's gonna get you through this, you're wrong. I also don't know why you are competing here because there is a lot of young blood who's a lot better than you. I don't know why you haven't given up." And Joe explains to him, well, even when his mind was telling him to quit, even when he was injured, his body still wanted to do gymnastics. And he's gonna just keep doing it. And Leo's like, "So you're gonna do it till you die?" And Joe stops and goes, "Yeah." And Leo looks at the man dumbfounded. It's like, what? Go for it, Joe, but just know you have to do better than this to win. We get our credits scene, we get the ED, and then we see Joe talking to his coach, and he goes, "Coach, I've been thinking. I can't win the competition like this. What if I add a fourth flip? What if I do a quadruple flip?" And that's where our episode ends. I'm gonna get my thoughts out quick. We got some gymnastics this episode. I think it looks good. Uh, I we've talked previously about how people feel about the characters. I think this is a great episode because Leo's here and doing his stuff, and also because I think Joe's a treat this whole episode. I think he's the world's biggest fucking idiot, and I love him for it. And overall, I'm excited to see if we, how fast we move into the NHK competition. The show has pretty solid pacing when it comes to that. It seems like we're setting up for Tetsuo to possibly lose, and to maybe become more of a team player than he is a solo, like a solo competitor. And I'm not really sure what we're doing with Leo now, but I'm interested because he seems to be trying to find answers for his own issues through Joe's gymnastics. And it's interesting to watch as he kind of shapes the other characters in the story. I really like this show. I think it's solid this week.
Yeah, I think the show is actually really good this week. I thought I was gonna be disappointed by the transition back to Joe, and while I thought Ray is the best character in the show and still is, um, it actually looks like this show is like actually kind of progressing pretty nicely. Like it's a pretty smooth transition into like the joint Chinese Japanese arc. We meet Liu Lojang, and he pops off and puts Minamoto in his place, and yeah, I mean, and also the purple hair gymnastic is a big fan of Joe's wife as actress and recognizes Ray as the daughter. And that's cute. And I'm curious to see how their friendship develops because she was cute. That's my thoughts on the episode.
Mm. If I could just quickly lay out my thoughts. Sean, you were wrong.
Yeah,
I'll own it. I
he
was
was.
very wrong.
You were wrong, and this is why I don't deep dive because I'm not wrong.
He was pretty fucking close.
Nay, but
I was pretty off the mark.
Were you?
He's American and he's a
He's
dancer.
He's
Or
European.
European.
His name's
British.
Leonardo.
He's
European
British.
dancer as opposed to like
Chinese gymnast. That's kind of
Chinese-
off the
it's-
mark.
okay, like he's a professional at something, right?
Let's admit. Let me get this out on Dylan. I will confess, I am wrong. I have
Yes.
been more wrong before, though. I on this
Ooh.
podcast have said that two peoples were
Okay,
going
fair.
to line the holes in their heads up to each other as opposed to
Okay.
kissing, and I was wrong. They kissed that scene. This is nothing new. I have been wrong before. I think I'm less wrong here. What are your thoughts, Dylan?
Yeah, I just wanted everyone to know that you were wrong.
Thank
but
you.
other than that, I thought this episode was good. I fucking even though it's not what we expected, obviously, like I expected to be a fucking British dancer, ballet dancer. I was like, what the fuck? But even then, like I'm so glad that he actually has closure. But then, like, I looked at it and I was like, what? Why? Like, I guess his shtick is that he can't dance because he can't. Or whatever. But I want to see more of Leo's plotline. But I really enjoyed the actual joint competition thing that they had, like the Chinese and the Japanese people like hanging out and doing like showing off to each other what they can fucking do. The running scene was fucking dumb in my opinion.
I'm not disagreeing on that.
Like the whole, even like the conversation after, because they're like, "Oh, we're just so lost," and then all of a sudden the Japanese coach is like, "Hey, you want to come home?" And they're like, "Yeah, like scene over, I guess." Like, fuck. Um, but I, I don't know. I still think this show's still not my kind of show, but I will admit that it did get better.
I'm sad there wasn't more emotional turmoil over him going to do this during her birthday. Like, I thought that was gonna be a
Yeah.
big issue, and they're just like, it's fine. All right, we'll come see you the day after.
I'm glad that that scene was the only scene, and that was all. I think this episode did really well what it needed to do in the sense of you got all of that past issues done. Now this is just for Joe to like come into play type deal. I loved the training. I loved him doing the thing that made him fail and want him to retire, becoming injured and all that, finally succeeding and only doing that one move. I felt was actually really good, because the coach only told him that the ban was lifted on the one move. I like the idea of him only doing that one thing and not injuring himself further, and then sticking with the training regiment that is given by the Chinese and Japanese at this training camp. I thought it was pretty good. I enjoyed the gymnastics aspect of it. I'm excited to see more of it. I like Leo's background. I was thoroughly surprised that he was English, and not fucking Chinese or anything else. The one thing I hate about anime as a general is that when they go back to fucking London, they're still speaking Japanese, which I mean, like, it's a
Props to Great
nitpicky
Pretender.
thing, but like, come on. But I liked it. I thought it was good. I liked how Ray wasn't fucking like distraught uh that she was not there on her birthday, which they're in China if I'm not mistaken, right?
I don't remember.
I believe so.
Because
I believe this
I
is a Chinese
remember it was
facility.
being in China.
We could probably figure it out based on the location they pop up for the training camp. Like, I'm pretty sure they probably tell us where that building's at, but I don't remember.
Okay.
We could
All right,
check
They
that.
told us either way.
Yeah. Because she's technically not at school, which I mean it's like
Yeah.
a fucking vacation, but like whatever. Yeah, I liked it. It was a good show in my opinion for today. It was a thorough surprise. Put it that way.
Michael,
Yeah, this
thoughts?
episode was good. I like all the little character moments. Like Sean, I think Joe is amazing. He's a fantastic main character. Our dense little brick, but we love him anyways.
I can't
Um,
handle this man.
we didn't have Big Bird this episode, which is immediately a plus.
You know, I didn't
Um,
realize that. You're so fucking right.
I didn't
Holy
even think
shit.
about it until right now. I'm like, Big Bird wasn't there at all.
Holy fuck,
Um,
you're right.
And there might
I
be
don't-
not anymore Big Burn scenes
I mean,
until the
we-
competition,
Maybe.
maybe.
why do we need him anymore?
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
He's
Ray's
he's
watching on at home type deal.
but like, I don't know how none of us somehow ever picked up on the fact that his name was Leonardo, which is a very non-Asian name in any capacity. Like none of us were like, that doesn't sound Chinese at all.
Leo is a great name because it
Yeah.
sounds like it could be from 8 fucking different
Yeah,
countries.
Lego works, but he says his name is Leonardo multiple times. We just never caught on to that and never like went, that's weird.
Look,
Also, he ends the last episode in a ballet pose. We just went,
yeah,
oh, he's doing gymnastics. That works.
I mean, a lot of poses like that are related to floor exercise as well, though.
Yeah.
I tunneled visioned on the
Okay.
theory I had, and I just thought, well, he could be dancing to improve his gymnastics, and I was just
Yeah, you know, he might just be lining up the hole in
it's
his
not
head.
my fault. It's not my fault that he very much looks like one of the guys in that photo, and I dug real deep. I have thoughts about how things are gonna go, but I'm just gonna keep my mouth shut because I can only be wrong so many times in a podcast
Just say
season.
it, say it. Come on, say it. Just say it.
I think Leo's looking for the reason to get back to dancing, and I think
Yeah,
he
yeah.
sees that in Joe with Joe's passion, and I think kind of Leo's purpose here is one for him to feel that by the end of the show, but also for him to kind of share that same burden with Tetsuo because that's kind of what they talked about where like he kind of sees a little bit of himself in Tetsuo, but he's a dancer, Tetsuo's a gymnast. So
I got 2
I'm
points after
interested.
that.
I'm interested in that dynamic.
I can't believe how wrong you are. Go, Jackman.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it.
So my mind immediately went from, instead of like like dancing, my mind went to ice skating. Like I was like thinking like Olympics, and I was like, figure skating is an Olympic sport, but then I was like, that's a Winter Olympics, right?
Mhm.
And I was like, my mind was just like kind of like frozen, and then I was like, then I saw the actual dancing thing. I was like, okay, he's just a fucking dancer. But I think his problem is that I think he just has stage fright, like something that is preventing him to dance on a stage, right? Because he can do it at like outside of it, practicing, and we see that there. We also see that he earlier in the show that he's pretty good at gymnastics. He can do cartwheels and shit like that pretty well, box springs and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm interesting to see how his character goes.
I think what we're seeing in Leo is what the 2 of the other Japanese gymnasts were talking about and relates to Minamoto is like, yeah, sure he's great, sure he looks amazing, and he's got this cocky personality and everything. However, people like that, what happens when they don't win, right? when they face that first failure, when they've always been the best, when they're always number one, when everyone's looking at them and they're performing fine, it's not an issue. But the second they have a problem or they fail, that's when you start seeing the cracks in their mental, and it leads them down a spiraling path. And I think this is like Leo's recovery from one of those failures. You see like him thinking about when he was on stage and just not being able to dance because of the people looking at him, right? As if like a like, what if I mess up again? What if I fail? What if I do this? And he's looking at Joe, who's probably one of his inspirations as a kid or whatever, as this person who is he is failing and he continues to try. And it's why is he doing this? And why does he keep pushing himself through all this pain, through all this struggle, through like, the issues he's had? It's because, he just gymnastics is his life and he's willing to give up his life for gymnastics because it's just the only thing that makes sense for him. Right. And this is kind of Joe's path to recovery of like, okay, what does dance really mean to me? And can I find the same reason why I got into it in the first place, kind of thing? That's my guess, at least, on this situation, obviously. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think the coolest part about this show, though, for me, is the underlying track that plays whenever there's like an
Yeah.
intense Joe. It's always a Joe moment, right? It's never when anyone else is doing stuff. You have different music, but when it's Joe, it's just like that little like subtle like sitar going on, and it's like, this is it. All right.
The show's music's really good.
Bam, down, down, down. It's like, yeah, I
I
like that.
do like how the music changed every time the different um if the Chinese
Gymnast.
gymnast was going, they would go to like a more Chinese traditional,
Mhm.
and then if Japanese guy would go, it would change. I like the change of music. That was pretty cool.
The last thing I'll say is I think the show does a good job in the fact that I feel like every single gymnastic move is named after a person who does it, or at least that's what it feels like, because I have no
Aragaki.
idea what it all means. But despite not understanding how like impressive or important things are, just by seeing the stuff Joe's done in the past, and then seeing Tetsuo perform, and then seeing Leo perform, like the difference in how their hands move and the amount of stuff they do, I still understand why one's better than the other. And I think the show does a good job of that in it to a degree with the gymnastics.
Hmm.
Just because we actually haven't talked about really the gymnastics much.
Oh, it's beautiful. I mean, it's great to see them perform. Like for CGI, it's very good.
And I think the CGI is flowing better with the non CGI shots now than it was earlier.
Agreed.
And
Hmm.
it might just be
Agreed.
because we're getting to the point where they're doing faster and more complex things that it cuts easier together. Uh, Yeah, but I'm excited for next week. If we don't have any other thoughts, we have one last show to talk about. I will preface. There's a singular scene in Wandering Witch this week that I lost my shit over. uh,
Also, well, I don't know if you've transitioned
oh, I
scenes yet,
have.
but oh, I was gonna mention something about Taiso Samurai,
Oh yeah,
but
we
I can
can.
go into. Well,
What's
it's nothing special, but I'm just saying.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Last week, I was not caught up on Taiso Samurai, and fun fact, I'm still not caught up. In fact, I haven't watched a single episode of it, and the only thing I've heard of it was Taiso Samurai. And I'm no Japanese guy, but I don't know what Taiso refers to. But I saw the word.
Gymnastics.
See, I didn't know that. But I saw Samurai, and I was really looking forward to watching the show, and now I'm really not looking forward to watching the show. But yeah, that's all I had to say. But yeah, Wandering Witch. Oh boy. So this episode, starts with Elena going to a town that is like severely obsessed with dolls, and it shows us this group of people like talking to another witch about this uh, like culprit named the Ripper that like has been, I don't remember how they described it.
Taking girls'
Taking
lives.
girls' lives. That's what it was. Yes,
That is the
taking
wording.
taking girls' lives. And Elena's like, oh yeah, well I don't really know anything, whatever. And then this other witch like walks up, which by the way I think Dodge has like an unhealthy obsession with. And she's like, yo, you,
I
like
just said
you,
she's hot. What do you mean?
that's creepy. And she walks up, she's like, yo, you know anything? Like, you're gonna tell me if you find anything. And Elena's like, yeah, I'm not gonna know anything, so bye. And so she goes to this free doll shop, and she meets this really creepy like lady who has all these dolls and has bags under her eyes. And um and she's like, yeah, I don't really need money. Like, I just like to see people smile. And she's like, here, take a doll if you like it. And like, Elena's looking at all the dolls, and she's like, yeah, I don't really fuck with dolls. So thanks, bye. And as she's leaving, her hair like stop motions, and the lady like looks at it, and I don't remember what she says, but it basically goes to Elena like checking into a hotel and like getting ready for bed and stuff. And there's a whole fan service for people that like lolly feet, I guess. Where she's like in a bath and then she's like reading a book and like kicking her feet, and I'm sure some people enjoyed that. And basically she wakes up the next morning, or well, first of all, I should mention that before she goes to bed, she finds a doll on her nightstand, and she's like, "Yeah, nope," and she puts it in the dresser, and then she goes to bed, and then she wakes up and like she's getting ready, da da da, and then she looks in the mirror and her hair is cut off, and she's like, "Who is this? Like, this is not me," and she realizes, oh, the lives of a girl is like their hair, which I don't think I've ever heard a single girl refer to their hair as their lives. Um, and then the other witch that was introduced earlier shows up and is like looking around her room and like flips her out of bed, and like, I mean, that was like a semi funny moment, I guess. Um
Best scene in the entire series, I guess, is her getting her ass kicked.
I fucking
Like,
love that scene. She just
whatever.
gets
Um,
yeeted across the room.
just and then she
Continue,
just lays
please.
there. But they're like, oh, well, and she's like, the only thing that's been in common was girls have their hair cut off, and then the doll is missing, and then the hair's scattered around. It's like, don't you think you should have just been like looking for the doll the entire time? But anyway, um, they realize like the dolls that are like around have human hair, or the one that the guy has on the front desk of the hotel has human hair, and so they like interrogate him. They find out there's this like secret auction for like uh more what's the word I should use to describe it?
advanced dolls.
Advanced dolls,
There
yes.
you go.
It's like a secret auction, so they dress up and like they wear these really disguisable masks, that like only cover
Masquerade
the.
masks, yeah.
They're not even masquerade masks. They're just lines around their eyes, like.
Some
But
masquerade masks are like
So I'm mad about
Masquerade
it.
mask.
I'm mad about it.
this show sucks. Um,
yeah, but why would
so
they
they go
make
to
it
this.
HD though?
They go to this auction, and like every single one before that is just like a fucking like sex doll, like literally just sex dolls.
So
And
true.
they get to the last one, and there's like six dolls that are like they're listed as dolls made by the Ripper. And Elena's like, yo, that's my hair, and that's the doll that was in my room. So she gets on stage and like mutilates this doll, like rips its head off and tears its hair off and starts like kicking the shit out of it and stepping on it. And then finally the Ripper's like, hey, stop fucking with my doll. She steps out, and it's the lady from the start of the episode that had the doll shop, and she's like, why do you do this? And she's like, I like to see people happy. And she's like, well, what about all the girls you're stealing hair from? And like, you don't care about money, but you're selling these dolls. And she's like, oh, I donate to the poor, so even more people are happy. And then she's like, okay, well, so da 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 da. And then she's like, I actually like to see people mad too. Like, please get mad. She's literally pulling a Pablo. She's like, you sound mad. You sound mad.
What?
Like,
Okay.
please get mad. Please get mad. And like,
Actually, so true.
and Elena's like, well, you're not gonna do this anymore. And she puts her in a cage, and Sheila, I think the other witch, like puts handcuffs on her, and Elena uses magic to put hair back on her head, which I guess
She's done before.
Yeah, but I still don't think that's how that works. But magic is magic.
She's reversing
and,
time.
Sure. Then just reverse time back to the start of me watching this series.
Yeah, amen, brother.
And then it cuts to Sheila dropping the Ripper off of the like magic headquarters, whatever, and we get to see Saya again. And Sheila's like, "Yo, there was actually this like traveling witch with ashen hair, and like they stole her hair." And Saya's like, "You touched you touched Elena," like, and then the Ripper's like, "You sound mad. You sound mad. Please be mad." And
She's actually getting off on it.
You
Yeah.
are
yeah, and then
underscoring how terrible this scene is.
it's so bad. This whole show just like it's I hmm. I only watched it because I had to. Please make me stop watching.
Jackman, Dylan, I have an important question for you too.
Yeah.
Yes.
was my head clouded? Has this show
Yes.
always been this horny? Like, or was
Yes.
it really just like these last 2 episodes have kind of been
No.
like the like I
It's
think
usually just Saya. It's
I
usually just
misread
Saya.
Saya's first appearance as not being as horny as it was. Now that I've experienced the last 2 episodes, Jesus Christ, yeah. But outside of like Saya, were the other episodes this horny?
I mean, okay, so one episode was her traveling,
Yeah.
and she went to a field of flowers,
Mhm.
brought the field of flowers back.
Yeah.
Nothing happened after that. Uh, then she went to a slave dungeon.
Dunkin' Donuts.
I mean, that's your first trigger. And
But
the dude was having literal sex with the slave. Yeah.
I mean, I don't think we
Uh,
got clear
yeah.
confirmation on that, but there was undertones of it, I felt like,
Yes.
too, in
Yeah.
that moment.
And then, I mean, this show's pretty bad.
The
So
show
okay,
Go
if
ahead.
I could just
Yeah,
very
go
quickly.
Dylan,
Go right ahead.
please.
Go right ahead, Pablo.
She's just so business casual. Like I couldn't. Oh god.
He was simping so fucking hard.
She's just so business casual. Like what am I supposed to do? She's the business casual. I really want this show to go, but damn, did I simp for Sheila so fucking hard that whole
Oh,
episode.
but you didn't simp for the feet
Okay.
that were on the screen for
She
2.5 minutes.
okay.
I mean,
Okay, let me bring this back real quick.
I get
The
server muted if I
only
talk about that.
interesting parts of this show that have happened was the first episode where Elena literally got her ass kicked by her boss witch, I guess. And then the bed scene where she literally got flipped out of her bed because she was like there. The main it feels like the main witches are better than the this main character here that we're following. I fucking hate it. To be honest with you.
I'd like to make an amendment to my comment last week. The show does have an episode pattern. It's an episode
It's
with
dog shit.
with her teacher, an episode with Saya, 2 episodes in one, and a 4th episode of a standalone story that involves a singular other witch. Because Michael and I made that connection today. It's always a brand new witch who appears
You-
in this
You
this
can't
set of
quit making
episodes.
amendments every week.
Well, no, it's just to re-clarify because we said this would be a standalone, single shot episode, and it was. It's
It
just
was.
that they happen to focus on another witch when they do it.
Particularly there was 2 witches.
You
So
guys
I
just
would-
sound mad. Like you
I
guys just
would
sound mad.
imagine
Like,
next week's episode would be another Fron episode.
But we ain't getting there, so
I think
mean-
the show's fine. I'm enjoying my
shut
time.
the fuck up.
I
I
think
thought it
this
was a
show.
fine episode. Like,
I think this show is. I think this show does pretty okay for a good chunk of it, and then it just flips a horny switch at some point. I just.
Okay, let me go back. I was generally worried that this episode was going to be a good episode when I first got into it because I was like, okay, one, I don't fuck with dolls, and I was like, this shit's kind of getting creepy. I kind of vibe with it, and the music was all dark and creepy. I was like, okay, this is getting good. I like it, and then it just was like, don't trust the dolls. No shit, don't trust the dolls. And the first character that is introduced is the fucking villain. And it's like, I could have fucking told you that. Like, dude.
Okay, I agree because like I was okay. I don't know about you guys. I watched this on Hulu, and
Yeah, I did
the
too.
Yep.
the description said the Ripper, and I was like, "Yo,
Yeah.
that's a
this
badass
shit's gonna
name
be
for a
fucking
villain." Like,
Insane.
and I'm
it's
like,
a
okay.
play on Jack the Ripper.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
No,
okay,
this is
but
the
nothing,
Sherlock Holmes
nothing in the
episode.
show
Who
is
is-
supposed to be so like.
Who is Jack the
awful.
Ripper?
Have you never
Do
heard of
do
the
you
story of Jack
not
the
know
Ripper
what
before?
who Jack the Ripper is?
For Pablo, who apparently
I'm
doesn't know
definitely
what
not
history
fucking
is.
around.
Okay,
Like,
good.
Back in-
whoever
back in
Okay, then we
London-
can we can ignore it. We can
We're back
ignore
to
it.
this.
In-
We're
in
back
the
2
old
weeks
days
in a
of
row.
Rome,
I like
ac-
it, Pablo.
actually,
there's
so-
a series of murders in London by a mysterious Jack the Ripper that was never caught. That's the TLDR.
So
Yeah,
Dylan,
we didn't
what
leave
Jack,
Jack around.
what Dodge is actually
Yeah,
trying to
it's
tell
me.
you is that Jack the Ripper is only purely an anime character plot line used to give
It's true.
detectives a reason to explore large cities and strange people. You can
Also
see
true.
this. You can see this in like Black Butler and a couple of
Yep.
other shows that I
also
can't
made
think of
into
off
a
the top
law
of my head.
in Fate series because reasons.
Yeah.
Okay,
Um,
okay. Like, but she was business casual. Like, you realize that, right?
Yes, the other witch was more more entertaining to watch than our main character. Yes.
And
I
that's
think that's
not
fine.
that's not
She
uncommon in this
had
show.
she
I
had
think
green eyes
that's
too,
not uncommon
dude.
with the
I
show
was
because the show
gone.
isn't focused on like an overarching plot, right?
It's her story.
It's just a
I
bunch of
don't.
short stories. I don't
It's
know what
of
you want from
her
this show,
story,
Jackman.
though. It's
It's her
her story.
stories that she is
Her
writing.
stories are not
Do,
entertaining.
do we have anything new to discuss this week about
No,
Wandering
Okay,
Witch?
it's
I'm
the
like,
same thing on
she had
repeat.
green eyes.
Do we
Like,
want to like move to final discussion?
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah.
I feel I'll run through my thoughts. I feel like the two weakest shows right now. Cause I feel like we have Jujutsu Kaisen and Akudama Drive on a pedestal, and they're not coming down right now. I then think there is another line separating things, which is shows that are doing pretty well, and I would put The Day I Became a God and Taiso Samurai there personally. I then feel that Iwakakaru and Wandering Witch are at the bottom of the barrel right now.
I can agree
yes.
And I had originally planned to slay both of them.
Ooh.
However, I've changed my mind. I think as much as I dislike Iwakakaru this week, personally, I still think it's a better all-around solid show than Wandering Witches. I think
I have
Wandering
swayed
Witch.
one vote.
I think Wandering Witch has had its weeks to try to amend a story and give me an episode where I fully enjoyed the story the whole way through, and it hasn't happened in a while.
Why does this get more of a
Ever-
pass than Became a
Ever
God?
since the fucking font change.
Why the fuck does this show matter less than Day I Became a God? They both don't have a fucking plot that matters.
The Day I Became a God has a better plot line
No,
than
it
The
doesn't.
Wandering Witch
It
right
has
now.
no plot. Neither of them do.
I think.
What do you
So
mean?
here's
Day I
an
Became a God has spent 8 episodes without doing any part of
So-
the main
I am getting-
overarching story.
So, can it be concluded that you're mad? Just
So
wondering.
here's an
I'm
argument.
very mad because I haven't gotten to talk this entire episode.
Dash,
The
please
Wandering
talk.
Witch
No, I'm
does
good.
worse
I
at
voted
telling
Became a
short
God
stories.
Kakeru. I'm done. We're good.
Dash, so I think Day I Became a God is up there with Taiso, because I think something that The Day I Became a God and Taiso do really well is tell its story through its characters.
Does it?
I do think it does. I think Day I Became a God has had a center focus on Hina and on our main character, and that since the show has developed the idea that you have this timeline that is approaching, and thus they are going to be carrying out events throughout the show, and as they do, our main character has gotten closer with those around him, and Hina's gotten closer to him. The building of the connections between Hina and him is important, and the building of his connections with everyone else is also important because Hina's the one who's done that. I can understand that if you hate Hina and don't really care about the cast, that The Day I Became a God seems like it's doing nothing, because I think it's building to a climax that is, remember all the things Hina's done for him. Hina's important. Something bad might happen to Hina. And I personally think, for me, the show's going to have earned that emotional reaction I'm gonna get from it. Whereas with Wandering Witch, I don't think it needs to have that plot line it has that connects it, because it is a bunch of short stories. I just don't think its short stories are good. I don't think its short stories have been good for a while. I think they are all really close to being good. I personally don't think they've hit the mark, though. And those are kind of my final thoughts on that.
I just think Day I Became a God just keeps adding more and more characters just for the sake of keeping a plot afloat, but don't attribute anything to the actual story.
Okay, let me add
that's my
something to that
thoughts on
real
it.
quick. We haven't actually seen any new characters other than the ones that have been introduced.
That's the point. It just keeps adding new characters, though. Like,
It's
did it add?
brought back characters,
it has, but they're only there for the convenience of the current situation.
which is fine
I don't like that. Like,
in the sense of this is
I
what
mean,
this is
Wandering
what
Witch does the
Yoda
exact
has
same
done.
thing. Wandering Witch
But that
introduces a
makes
new
sense.
character to go through a story, and then occasionally be used as a character to go through its story.
but that makes more sense in the terms of the overarching story of the show and the whole goal of the show. It
I
wouldn't
think-
make sense to have the same characters over and over and over again if you're traveling.
I think it makes sense for Day I Became a God
You're-
to have
You're
those
building a
characters.
I
friendship
think it can, but I just think it's not. I just don't.
with the Day I
it's
Became
whatever.
a God.
I'm not winning anything
it's-
here, so let's just move on.
it's I'm just trying to put this on, man. It's not even my fucking show. I'm just trying to defend it. But I think it does like I said before, it's Yoda's experience of his supposed last remaining days. He has no fucking idea what's going to go on. We have no fucking idea what's going to go on. After learning today that Hina might be the one to fucking die, I am thoroughly more invested to finish that show to see what the fuck happens. With Wandering Witch, I could not give a fuck about how the show ends. I already know that her mom is the Wandering Witch that she's been following this entire time, or like learning about, and I just could care less about it. There's things that this show does that could be so good if done in a different way, but has failed to succeed that mark for a couple of weeks now. And that's all I'm going to say about the Wandering Witch.
I just dread opening Hulu to watch this show every time I have to. Please
Just another
take
point.
it off.
Thank you, Tommy. Thank you. I was arguing myself between whether I wanted to vote off Wandering Witch or Iwakakaru. I voted off Wandering Witch because I do agree that I would rather watch this upcoming tournament because I have something to expect from Iwakakaru, and I don't have anything to expect from Wandering Witch. I hard simped over the fucking witch chick, and it was the only reason I'd even considered keeping the show on. Now that my mind is clear, I now know that that's probably not the best way to defend a show. But
Damn, you think?
I mean,
we could have had this show gone week 2.
my actual problem with Wandering Witch is that it has no direction other than I just go and have fun, which is fine. If you want to watch a show that has that, like, go for
it's
it,
fine.
dude. Like,
But
if you want to go watch a show, there's some chick just find yourself in random situations with no like end goal. Like, sure, like it's not a bad thing at all. It's just a style of a show that you might like. But I mean, for me, for these shows that we like every week, we theorize what's going to happen on each show, and this is always the show that we have no theories. We just argue about it. We
Yeah.
have no idea what's going to happen next because we don't know, right? That's my opinion on it. I'll be right
see,
back.
it can just jump from A to B to fucking F to C to back to B, and it's just like, all right, whatever.
But there's no point in arguing about it.
I mean, I think it's important to still discuss it, though.
Yeah,
I just
Like,
think
that's the
the
point of
day
it.
that became a god. You can't complain about a show jumping around like that when the day I became a god also just jumps around randomly. It seems like.
but it has a
like,
set timeline though.
Does it? Like,
It
yeah,
does.
it has a timeline. Sure, every show has a timeline. It's called 12 episodes, but like,
It's the next day though.
that's
the
great.
thing.
And the pacing has been sporadic in the show as well, where it went like 15 days and like 3 episodes, and now it's going day at a time, right?
Yeah.
And I don't.
Dodge,
It's
I
so
want
Okay,
hard. It's
let
hard
me
to
put
phrase
it
like,
a little better way than that.
I just don't think like it's fair to rate the shows. It's hard to say. Like, I think they're just stylistically different, and
Yeah.
fundamentally, you're just either not gonna like a show one way or another here. And I
I-
think
the
that's
thing
just what
is,
it comes down
I
to.
agree.
I think you guys
want
just
to like
fundamentally
Wandering
hate that
Witch.
show, and I fundamentally hate Day I Became a God, and that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, so I fundamentally like the idea of Wandering Witch. However, it failed to succeed my expectation of that. I gave it a couple of shots after episode 1. I gave it a shot and immediately got let down because we went straight into another training arc with completely just this random new character. And then it just proceeded to I'd give it more hope each and every week. Like I said, this week I tried. I was very worried that it was going to be really good and it wasn't going to be worthwhile to vote off. Because of the first 3 scenes I saw, I was thoroughly entertained with it. And then I just saw, okay, this is the main character. This is the main villain. This is how this is going to happen. I just called everything while watching it, and it just hasn't entertained me as much as the comedy of any other show. Let me just put it that way.
I want to
I
give Michael
the
a
last thing
chance
I'd
to
say
talk like
before
after Dodge.
anything else is just like I'd rather watch a show that I expect to be like a 7 or an 8 and it turns out to be a 5 than a show that I expect to be a 3 turn out to be a 4. Like, that's just my opinion on it. Like,
So
I think that's what it comes down to for me.
Michael, you're in an
I
odd
don't-
position here.
yeah,
'Cause
I
It
only
doesn't-
voted.
I
I
don't
only
think I
voted
should
off
either.
one show this week, and that was Iwakakaru, because um when Iwakakuru's bad, it's really bad. When Wandering Witch is bad, I can still get enjoyment out of laughing at it. Iwakaku this week actually just pissed me off the entire episode. There was like one or two good scenes, and other than that, it was like, but like the one scene that I thought was good was 5 seconds, and it was just gone. The show just pissed me off, and it hasn't. It's been on a slow decline for like 3 weeks.
So, Mike, why do you like Day I Became a God?
I think it has some of the. I like the characters in it. I think they're interesting. I like the way they interact with each other. I don't know. I just think the show's funny. I like the characters.
Dodge,
I
as
don't know.
someone who liked Wandering Witch and was like on that defending it side for a long time, for me, it's this odd thing where when you guys didn't like episode 3 and 4, I really liked 3 and 4. Like when a large chunk of the podcast didn't like 3 and 4, I really liked 3 and 4. I thought they were strong stories, and that the conflict that Jackman and Dylan have, where the resolutions weren't what they liked. I was fine with a resolution leaving me feeling like upset or like it needed more, because I still enjoyed the story that got me to those resolutions. And that was why, like, I was very defensive of Wanda Witch. It then started to bring back its old characters, and that felt good to see them again. And then these last two episodes have really lost me. I haven't really cared for the stories they presented, and I think I expressed this earlier in the podcast, that Wandering Witch to me was always going to be a coin flip on how well it told its stories. If its short stories were good, I was going to really like it. And I just don't think the past 2 weeks have done that for Wandering Witch. Uh, Again, I personally like Day I Became a God. I think it's where you say it feels like it's a 3 and could be a 4. I think Day I Became a God's a lot higher than that. I don't. To me, I don't understand why you're so down on it, because I don't think it's as bad. But I'm interested to know, so I'd love to give you time to talk about Day I Became a God in more detail right now, so that I can, because I might not agree with you when you're done telling me this, but I want to know why you feel the way you do.
I can agree with that.
I mean, I just haven't been enjoying the show from like the start of it. Like, I just feel like it let out a plot, it completely sidetracked from it. It just kind of is just a bunch of short like sketches, and then it's like moves on from the next episode. Like nothing major happens. Like the characters somewhat develop, but really it's just progressing in a plot towards Yuta and the, I guess, Odin or whatever her name is, me or Hina, right?
Hmm.
Like, and it's just shoehorning through this plot when it's like, okay, so now we're forcing this narrative when we spent the first half the show trying to get him with Izanami, and then there's like this random mahjong that had nothing to do with the show or this whole goal. Like, well, in the end, like, what's the character's motivations for doing any of this? Is like, okay, he's motivated to do it for this girl, and now suddenly they're just flipping it. Like, okay, now he's just doing it for Hina, and then it's gonna go towards he's gonna try to save Hina or whatever. By the end, I'm just not a fan of like the overall like premise of the show, and I think it's okay for how it's doing it, but like at the same time, it's not like the whole premise of the world ending in 30 days is just so, it feels so unimportant for the show. Like it feels like there's no urgency.
Hmm.
There's no threat with this happening. It's just, oh yeah, who cares?
Hmm.
And I feel like that's a big issue with it. Like, hey, the parents knew this day would come. Well, why? Like we have 5 episodes to figure out like all the things that are going on. It's like I feel like it's just going to be, I don't know. I just feel like I don't know anything about anyone besides I like ramen, and I'm your friend, and we played basketball once, and I got hit by a car.
Hmm.
Oh, by the way, you can jump off a bike and grab the truck and save the girl who got stuck in the back of a. I still don't know how she even got stuck in the back of the fucking truck.
She just walked in
Like,
there
She walked
and
in
then they closed it. Yeah.
exactly. Like,
because she
I,
wanted to cool down. But so Dutch, I don't want to I don't want to go through another round of
like
explaining my views
everything
of
in the show
why.
feels forced to me. Is how I
Okay.
put it.
I
That's
don't
fair.
want to go through the time here to explain to you why why I think those points are different in my mind, because I don't think you need to hear that. And I don't think it really does good on the discussion right now for that. what I do want to ask you on the topic for Day I Became a God is, did you like the Izanami episode? Because
I
I think I
as
remembered you
a
liking
standalone
when you
episode,
watched it.
sure.
Yeah.
Yes. It was definitely a better episode in the show.
So, and then you generally like the interaction with Yota and his friend Asakasa, right, or
Not
whatever his
I
name is,
guess.
Akus.
Like, I mean, I continue.
Well,
Like,
I'm just curious because in like I look at it as the show's purpose is to have episodes that creates bonds that Hina plays a role in, and then the festival episode's purpose was to show you know Hina's life matters. Like, obviously, no one wants something bad to happen to Hina. Even though Yota kind of views her a little obnoxious. And I think the other underscore to both the Izanami episode and the fireworks episode was, Yoda's just here, and Hina can make things happen, but he doesn't want to take shortcuts, and he doesn't really care about this timeline that's coming up, because for him, and Jackman said this a couple of times, it's just a summer, and if the summer ends and the world ends, he's fine with it. Like, he has this indifference, so that clock ticking down doesn't matter to him. And what's more important is he's just going to keep trying to make these bonds, and he's getting a little closer to things feeling natural between him and his friends. So that connection with his friends and Hina is the part the show's going for. And I think if you don't like that engagement, I can see why you don't like the show.
so, if I can
Yeah.
point out some things that then like that I have issues with is like, okay, then if he's trying not to take shortcuts, then why does every time these bonds are more successful, he has to use a shortcut or use her assistance or use her omnipresence, I guess, right? Like, he can't he hasn't been able to foster these bonds on his own, so he has to like use an external factor. And like, sometimes you say she plays a role, but then it's like, well, then what's the point in not taking a shortcut if she's just going to play a role anyways in basically making it a shortcut, right? And it's
So,
like,
Yeah,
sorry.
Jackman, if you want to
So,
take it.
yeah, so I think where the idea of it being a shortcut, I mean, the idea of it is different to Yota, right? It's the idea he's having a hard time connecting with said person or people. There's nothing wrong with asking for the help of it. The shortcut is where when it comes into play of when she basically just like asked him to do like whatever, like how could I repay you? He kind of just brushed her off and was like just like a thank you, right? Um he has I feel like he has this personality of I need help, but I want to be the one to finish things type deal. Which I think is fine in the sense of how he is playing out these last days that he's been told, and throughout this entire process he's realizing that this girl is kind of truthful in her ways. So the more that he does stuff with Hina is his expectance of the world actually ending is growing with every single passing day. However, he's also spending time with his family, his friends that he's made with the help of Hina. Um, the first day that Hina and Yoda were together, they tried to get him to play fucking baseball because she was like, "You need it." That basketball wasn't the option to get her attention, so try something else. When that failed, because he failed, he didn't connect any closer, but still had this remaining friendship because they were friends. And throughout this process, he's slowly building up the process of actually being close enough, but he's not fully taking her word as like a thing. The entire time he was playing the Mojang thing, he had the fucking guidance of what to do, right? But he himself was the actual one doing things type deal. And I
what
think that is where you might be getting a little like not a fan of because it can seem like jumping back and forth because you have to remember each of these episodes are like a day, like a singular
Or a couple
day
of
as of
days.
now, or a couple of days, like 1 or 2 days. But the show shows those 2 days, and then the time ticks down type deal. I can understand if you fully just don't like the show because I was with that aspect as well. I fucking hated the show for the first 2 episodes. Halfway through the second episode, I started to really enjoy it because it felt more of like I'm just going to say short stories. They felt more like short stories, but they were in a way of just telling out the full day or days that happened. And if in Yoda's mind that this is gonna be the end by the end of this date, him not doing anything fucking crazy with his god power that he has, I think tells a different story for the character, and I think that's a good development for this character and storyline. I think
So
that's the best I can say
I want to
right now.
hold further discussion, Dodge, if you're okay with it, for potentially future weeks, because we have to talk about how things were voted. Because I want you to get. We'll make sure you have time. Either we'll just like we give Jackman time with Wandering, which talk about why he doesn't like. We'll make sure that if Dad Become a God still here, you have time next week to kind of talk about it. I wanted to do this discussion because I want to make sure that if we go into watching more Dad Became a God, those of us who like it have the idea, know why you don't like it, so we can keep an eye on that and see, like, okay, is it doing the things Jackman doesn't like, or how is that Dodge doesn't like, and how does that impact the show for him, and then we can have a better discussion of it next week. Because you said you didn't feel like you were talking enough, so I want to make sure you have the time. But in the same way, I want to open it up to everybody else and kind of move off that centered discussion, if that's okay. Are we cool with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're good.
The other thoughts about we're at end conclusions, overall thoughts, Dylan, Michael, Tommy, and anyone else really. Any other thoughts we have about shows before we talk results? Could be anything.
I'm skeptical. I'm very skeptical of Taiso's next episode.
Hmm.
I've been a big not fan of it for a while. I think you categorized Taiso and Dea Became a God in the same boat right now. I think the next episode will really sell that for me, whether you're right or wrong, in my opinion.
That's fair. Yeah, that was also entirely just my view of it. That's how I felt.
Yeah.
Obviously, generally, I like to think the podcast holds Jujutsu Kaisen and Akudama Drive on that same level.
Yeah, I can agree with
Anything
that.
outside of that, I think, probably differs from each of us. Obviously, because we know the opinions of Dad Became a God across the podcast.
But yes, other than that, I am fine. Give me the results.
What about Tommy and Michael before we hop in?
Do you want to go first?
I want to give people a chance to talk.
Sure. I mean, I already gave my general thoughts.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Akudama and Jujutsu are really good. I think Taiso, in my opinion, stands on the same level as them. I think Taiso does what it does super well.
I'm not brave enough to say it.
Well, I am, because I obviously do not care what you think of my tastes. I'm the person who thinks I also put Dea Became a God on a similar pedestal. I think it's a really good show. I don't know. I think the other two shows are not doing very well right now. But I'd prefer to watch another episode of Wandering Witch than another episode of Iwakakuru. Yeah.
Tommy, final thoughts?
Nah, you pretty much nailed it on the head. It's like at the moment, the only episode or the only shows I'm like excited to watch like on release are Akudama Drive and Jujutsu Kaisen. Everything else, it's like I just feel kind of obligated to watch. They just don't click with me. It's like I said when I joined last week. It's like I'm sort of an action slut, so those are the only ones that are kind of like keeping my attention, make me want to figure out what happens next. Everything else is just like,
Okay, then I have results. And for the sake of time, are we cool if I just go down total results?
Go
Sure.
ahead.
And if we want to talk about, breaking it down, we can. Akudama, 6
Yeah.
saves. It's good.
I'm just gonna randomly slay that show one week, by the way.
Fuck us all up. Dan Become a God has 1 slay. Iwakakuru has 3. Sorcery Fight has 6 saves. Taiso has 1 slay. Wandering Witch has 4 slays. So if I would have slayed Iwakaku
Wait,
along
I
with it,
can't count. Did it?
four
was all four?
saves to 3 on Iwakaku, so Wandering Witch has the most. If I would have slayed Iwakaku, we would have had talk. We would have gone down to that tiebreaker discussion between them.
Shit.
God.
I'm perfectly fine. So I definitely think that Irakaku needs to fucking they need to do some fucking crazy shit this next episode for
You
it
already know they're
to
not
remain.
going
I
to.
agree on that.
It's gonna be a
I-
training arc. You already know they're not going to.
I hope
it's
they do
fine.
well with the training arc. You can do a training arc well. I
That's
think you can
cool.
spend an episode training effectively and make me interested. So I hope it does
There
that.
needs to be learning. There needs to be bonding. There needs to be actual fucking climbing.
I've been surprised by how little ecchi the show has been. I'll be honest.
I am very
I've
surprised
been thoroughly
too.
Wandering
surprised
Witch
it hasn't been shipping it more.
Wandering Witch is worse than Iwakaku.
We've had a
on
bath
this.
scene in I think every other show except for
Okay, we haven't
except
gotten
for
to
Sorcery
a
Fight.
potential bath scene yet.
The only show we haven't had a bath scene
Maybe
is
next
Sorcery Fight
episode-
and Clown
maybe
World.
maybe next episode is the beach scene.
Well, the only bath scene we had in
Ooh,
Taiso was
beach
Leo
volleyball
being
scene,
in the
let's
tub.
Yeah,
he's
but
just
so
being
and we
dumb.
had one in Akadama with Cutthroat in the tub. What's your point?
You,
It's still a
you
bath
you
scene.
got me on that one. Yeah, I can't argue that. Yeah,
I guess you could count Brother as bathed in blood, but that's a whole other
Oof.
argument.
So we are looking at Wandering Witch gone this week.
My mind is cleansed.
So we are gonna be on episode 8 of Akadama, episode 9 of Iwakaku, 9 of Jujutsu Kaisen, episode 8 for The Day I Became a God, and episode 8 for Taiso. I'll put those in the chat so that we know after the podcast. Dodge,
Damn, we're
let's.
number 5?
We're
We're
down
down
to
to
5
5.
shows.
Oh shit.
Yeah,
So-
it's gone by fucking quick.
Okay, so by the time we have voted off 2 other shows, some shows will have 2 episodes left for us to watch, some will have 3. When we get to that end slate for top 3. And once we hit top 3, as a reminder, we'll discuss as a podcast how we want to
What the
approach
plan
it.
is,
What we
yeah.
usually do is we just don't do the podcast and watch out to the end of those shows. Which in this case, if Jujutsu Kaisen is there, just because I want to be
episodes.
nice, since it has a second season coming, you would cut Jujutsu Kaisen at whatever episode it's at when
The others finish.
the others finish.
Okay, let me ask a question real quick.
Mhm.
Is it just a 24 episode one season, or are they
It's a
stopping?
continuation. It's
a
keep
continuation.
going.
Yeah,
I thought it was a continuation.
It's a continuation. It's
is.
going to keep going through the start of winter,
Okay.
which is
It-
Pog.
yeah.
No,
so,
no ReZero break.
so
it-
Dodge, do you know? Yeah, I think the point Jackman's getting at is it gonna? There's usually like a 3-week gap between the seasons. It's obviously continuing in winter. Is it going to take a 3 weeks off and not air, or is it just gonna keep airing straight through?
I think it's gonna do what
Some
One
of them
Piece
just air
does.
straight through. Like
Yeah.
some of them air straight through. Some of them take an extra like at least a week in between.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
But if I had to guess, I think it would just keep going.
I also
Like when
think
I was
it's gonna
watching,
do what Dragon Slayer or not Dragon Demon Slayer.
when I
I
was
think it's
watching,
gonna do what they did.
like if it was like ReZero, they would have split it up into season 1, season 2. That's
yeah,
all.
there's
I
a
think.
couple of things doing that.
Mhm.
Like Moriarty the Patriots doing that, where its second season's taking a gap off. So like it's not gonna air winter, it's gonna air spring.
I could see it taking a couple weeks off, but like yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's
So we'll
it's
see.
it's definitely. I mean, it's going to be in winter, is all we know. So
Yeah, so
I'm
we-
excited. The
we
show's
will
fucking sick.
see. Dodge, to make you happy, I watched Tonikawa this week. I didn't
What'd you
mention
think
this
of it?
earlier. This is
It
probably the
died
best,
for this,
probably the
dude.
best episode of Tonikawa that's ever happened. Man, they're really writing the Kaguya lore, huh?
They are.
They're riding that
really
shit
riding
hard.
that Kaguya lore.
Again, like
because
I don't think it's a great show. I think it's a 7 out of 10. And it's
Potion-
probably gonna stay a 7 out of 10. But it's just
Yeah.
wholesome, and I enjoy it.
Potion
Like,
of,
it's just cute.
of invulnerability, basically. That girl's
cute.
been alive for way too long.
Yep.
Dude,
And
that
this
bitch has been
episode, they
alive
were
for a
like,
while.
did you know that she knows this fact and this fact and this fact, and this fact.
She hates
But she
history
hates
because she
history.
lived it.
Yeah,
Because
she has
it's
really good
wrong and
memory.
It
she
was-
lived it.
they were very subtle about it
I
in the
called it.
past
I
couple
called it.
episodes. It's been super hard this week.
I fucking called
no,
it, so
I
I
think
want to
this-
say.
I think both Noblesse and
No, I
Tony
didn't.
Kawa have had really good episodes this particular week.
What?
I do not. I think
I didn't
Noblesse's
watch-
episode this week was really
Okay,
good.
I
didn't
agree
watch
that
Nobles.
the episode is good with Noblesse, but the foundation of Noblesse is the
Yeah.
worst part of the show.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
That's a
Oh,
whole nother
absolutely.
discussion.
But I'd like to generally stand by my opinions. I think the weeks we voted off Tony Kawa and Noblesse were the appropriate weeks.
I disagree.
I know you do.
I think Wandering Witch or Noblesse could have gone the week before. And
Yeah,
I think I would have loved to see
100%
the
agree.
discussion this week if Tony Kawa was still here.
It would have been a
'Cause
very different discussion
that
this
would have.
week.
I mean, actually, it probably would have been Igor Kakuru's gone. But like
I don't know.
next week,
I don't know, man. I think if Tommy had to watch through all of Tony Kawa, I don't know how. Who knows when that show would have gone if it was still around.
I just
No,
think
I-
Tommy hates
I-
anything
I-
wholesome.
No, that is not true.
And did
okay?
you watch Tony Kawa?
That was the first one I started, and as soon as I was caught up, I messaged Dylan. I said, "What is the general consensus?" And he said, "It's gone." I said, "God fucking bless."
I was like, shit. I gave him the list that had Tony Kawa on it, and then the next day we voted it off.
Yep.
So I was like, it's like,
First
I'm like,
thing-
okay. let's
Tommy, I
go.
am interested to see if you catch up on Taiso, what you think of it.
No.
Just watch
have
it.
to.
Just watch it. You have to watch it.
to.
Or at least watch like the last 3
Because
episodes.
Tommy, we're going to get to a point where your opinion's gonna matter.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
get
that's
the
the first
feeling.
of my life.
Does
Holy shit.
already.
Like I think
Probably
there's a,
next week, honestly.
That's
it's
gonna
either
be the
next
first
week or
time
the
in
week
my
after.
life.
So I would try to
Mhm.
I would try to catch up on it if you
There's
can.
not that many shows left, so
No.
at least
As
you
much as
don't
I
have to watch
ship the
Wandering Witch
show, I
anymore.
can't believe you watched Wandering Witch and complained about it this much, but
No.
refused to watch Taiso Samurai.
Okay, so here's what happened. I watched it because it's my show.
That's
second
fine.
Second of all,
I can make you
forgot
have to talk about
Taiso.
Taiso next week.
You could try, but then I'll just be like, "Oh, my mic was muted. Sorry, you didn't hear anything." I
It's okay.
said."
We'll wait.
Mike
Yeah,
was
we
go for it
waited.
again.
We waited for
cutting
Dylan to
out.
finish his discussion this week.
Yeah, my
Like,
mom came over. She's like,
ganked by
garbage. And I'm
mom,
like, oh,
yeah.
yeah, here you go.
Garbage.
So I handed her Tony Kawa. Okay, have a great night, everyone.
I will say, I will watch it in French dub and German dub once it's fully fucking released.
The Crunchyroll will be like, have all the dubs.
Oh yeah.
Well, at least Tommy didn't need to get through the first episode of Maya Setsu.
That is
Oh my
so
God.
true.
That was
That
rough.
is
Oh my
so
God.
true.
Dash,
rough.
I want to say sometimes we make a grave mistake, and
I just wanna say
usually you don't
it
make
could
a
have been
second
worse,
one on the podcast.
but I just don't know how.
Mine was Gibby 8 last season. Holy shit.
I'm trying to think, Michael. What's the worst show I've picked for the podcast?
That show sounds so
That
familiar.
you've picked? I have no idea. Mine
Is it
was
Assass-
Africa.
Is it Assassin's Pride? Is that
No, that show is the power fantasy of our dreams.
the podcast?
Africa No
together?
Salaryman was the worst choice.
Dylan, what do you think was the worst pick? Pet or Assassin's Pride from me?
I don't know what Assassin's Pride is, but
Oh,
Pet
you
was
weren't here that
garbage.
season. I think we undersold Pet. I think Pet. Was
I
better
think
than
Pet
it
was a good show. It just
No,
was too big
I
brain.
think we should. I think in between the weeks we should try to do a filler podcast where we just talk about some of the random anime we've watched and recommend them
Definitely
to each
could.
other.
We definitely
Sure.
could.
It'd be good to get
Okay.
just talk about some weep shit. I like talking about weep shit with you guys, even though I hate your opinions sometimes. Tony Kawa died for
Fine.
this. Tony Kawa died for
Dash,
this.
you
Tony Kawa
understand?
died
You
for
understand
this.
what Nathan's been going through for like 3 years with me.
Oh man, it's gonna be a
That's
struggle
because
for me to
Nathan
ever
shit
get it.
wrong.
Dash, you
It's
don't.
gonna be a struggle for me to ever get a show I enjoy through this.
Choose better, my dude. I'll
Dash,
tell ya.
imagine if it was you, me, and Dylan a whole season, and we tried to vote Tony Kawa off the first week, because that's basically what Nathan had to go through. And then imagine if Dylan and I went, "You have to watch Day I Became a God" all the way to top 4, which we might also do to you this season too.
I'm like, what is that? How is the difference in that second one? That second one sounds like it's what's gonna
Because
happen.
this is what we did with Cinderella 9
Dude, bro,
last season.
I'm looking at the list right now, and I'm like, man, okay, Iwakaku's gone next week.
I still can't find that fucking.
All right,
It's
Tyson
not.
Samurai's
It's
gone the
in.
week after.
Oh, I know it's in development,
Bro.
Dylan.
God,
What
Day I
if-
Became a God's
what
gonna be top
if
3, isn't it?
Fucking
Ah.
sports climbing girls goes up to fucking like Jujutsu Kaisen type level of like climbing.
Oh, Konami just goes infinite domain. Just
Yeah,
starts climbing
she
the
just-
fucking
Just an
wall.
She
infinite
just
domain,
throws up her
snitching.
domain, and like the 3 captains just all have
Her
their own
domain-
domain, and it just like
Oh,
snaps back and forth.
oh, it's like
Hey,
Kuroko no Basket, where it's
oh,
like, oh,
yeah,
they're
yeah,
in the
yeah.
zone.
Yeah.
The
Oh,
whole
no.
team's in the
No.
zone.
That would be dope, honestly. If they just started pulling out like fucking jutsus, like What the fuck is this?
Guys,
The hand signs.
I've
Oh my god, the
mentioned
part
this
in
to
Noblesse this
Dylan.
week where they made a Kuroko no Basket reference, I
Oh
fucking
my
cried.
god,
I
yeah.
fucking cried at that.
They play
where it's the
basketball
invisible
in
pass,
Noblesse
and I
this
was like,
week.
oh.
I've always had an idea for a podcast, and I think I've mentioned this to Dylan. Michael definitely knows it. I think it would be hysterical to do a podcast where we have to pitch anime ideas.
I
Like
like
we
that.
like we
yeah,
take
yeah.
it like we give a general premise that you have to center the show around, but then you pitch an idea for an anime, and we have someone like judge what's the best pitch we get.
All right, so Pablo
I think it'd be
judges, and I
great.
make mine about feet.
I think it'd be great.
Like, wait,
You're
you gotta
winner,
draw from a
winner,
hat
winner,
and
winner.
put it on a wheel,
Yeah.
and
think
then
it'd be
spin
great.
the wheel.
No. But we have to describe and try to sell you on what we think is the worst anime we've ever watched.
Man,
Dude,
you
there's
guys
so
guys
many.
already know what my setsu's like. I don't know if
Okay,
I can.
so the show.
Have you seen
I
the
think-
Moto
I think that's
Amagi?
just-
All right, so the show that I'm about to explain, this girl's like from the
We're
moon
cooking
or whatever.
over
And it stops a bus.
All right, so hear me out. Tokyo Ghoul Day. This guy walks with a dead guy in his arms for 13 minutes. That's the last
Okay,
episode of the
okay,
season.
okay. Tokyo Ghoul was a good show.
Yeah, the first season was good. What's your fucking point? The manga also pretty good, very fucked. The show,
I like Tokyo Ghoul.
absolute fucking shit. Season
That's
2.
that's the show that I started watching anime with. I watched Tokyo Ghoul through and
You watched season
throughout.
2.
That's my first
Look.
like season, like not seasonal, but like
I have
first
an idea
anime I
for a
watched.
show. It's about this girl who she becomes a mage and she
It's
travels
complete
around to different
useless.
cities.
Yeah.
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 Maybe like a synonym for mage. I don't know.
So I have this show.
Cringe.
It's about a girl
Wizard.
who constantly talks about train doors opening and like closing, and it's
Stop.
really weird.
But what sound does it make though? Like, I'm just wondering.
Oh, I mean, should do an episode of first, like, what would be the podcast way to describe a show as poorly as possible?
I'm trying. I'm trying to think of the worst show I've ever watched, and it might be Gibby 8. We might have hit that milestone on the podcast
All right,
last season.
guys. What about the show where this guy plays a piano, but like he just kind of ends halfway through?
Oh shit! Okay, like I'm
Stop
crying.
it.
Dude, there's
So like
some-
here's a show. You have this guy, he's on an island and he just never leaves.
Michael, we need to get
It's
back
just
to
like the
watching
last-
Dragon Quest.
What
What do we do?
It's actually just Dragon Quest. Dude,
he could
I had-
leave, but he
I
doesn't.
had so much hope looking at that picture, like the splash art. I was like, this is gonna be
not know it
such a
was a
good show. I could have chosen any other show.
God, I wanted to use Talentless Nana so bad, and I didn't.
We
Yeah,
almost I think all picked Talentless Nana. I think
That one and the Million Lives one, Standing on a Million Lives.
That was
Even
what
though
I was going
that
to
one's
choose as
garbage,
well.
apparently,
if,
from what
if,
I've heard.
I like that show.
if
I
Michael
think
was
it's
here, we
pretty
would be
good.
watching Moriarty the Patriot.
I've heard it's not good. Okay, so I
Moriarty?
got the show
I
recommended, guys.
liked Moriarty
It's
more
a
so.
short little show. It's only got like 900 episodes, guys. So it's
Yeah.
called One Piece. So this guy's
Did
a
you know
pirate,
all of it's
right?
on Funimation?
It's called Singular
Jesus.
Part.
Did you know that the character at the end is going to be the friends they made along the way?
Fuck.
What if the One Piece was all the episodes we had along the way? Just
What
thrown
if
Dude,
the
I
one-
like One Piece. I like One Piece.
I could talk
I
about
gave up on One
fucking-
Piece.
Dude, it gets so good.
It's gotten so good
gets
and
all
so
good.
bad over and over.
Really? Okay,
again.
so the thing with One Piece is you kind of can just like skip the filler arcs. There's
Okay,
just
so
like
you're skipping the bad parts? Okay, let me just skip
Yeah.
every anime that's bad then. We'll call it
Okay.
all good, alright?
I mean, that's what
why you
most
don't
people
watch the
usually
bad
do.
ones.
yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong
You
with
don't know
that.
how to way to watch bad shows.
Then
is
every anime is good.
Wandering Witch is really good if you don't watch it.
We do a podcast where we only watch anime
Yeah, if you
made
don't
in
watch
the
it,
top
it's just
90%.
written on paper. It's really
I
good.
think for the most part, One Piece is so much better at filler than Naruto was.
Yeah, that's
Like
true.
easy.
Look, I think Shippuden's filler is good.
Some of
Yeah.
it.
Until the war.
until
That's cool.
yeah,
That's cool, but
that's
the war
fair,
is like the
that's
last
fair.
half of the show.
Yeah,
and
I will-
90% of it is filler.
There's still some good parts of the war filler, but it's not nearly as strong as the beginning. Like original Naruto, its filler is fucking garbage.
One Piece has some bad arcs with I can't remember his name. He's just a really annoying character that I hated. And I skipped
Luffy.
one of
The
his. No,
deer.
shut the fuck up. Luffy is such a.
Did you just say
Are you trying to
Luffy?
call out my boy Chopper?
Luffy's
Fuck
fucking
Chopper,
weird.
man.
No,
I
no,
hated his fucking arc. I hated Chopper's arc.
You didn't cry at Chopper's arc?
No,
Okay,
fuck
the
him.
Holy
part.
shit,
Okay,
okay, we gotta kick him off the
wait,
con-
wait. The part where he becomes like the Giga Reindeer, like when he fucking. I don't
The
know.
ending was good.
Oh,
The ending was good. I couldn't really care for like the snow
or
biome.
whatever.
Yeah,
Oh.
that was
Jackman,
pretty cool.
See, okay, so I haven't watched One Piece, and you guys sound like lunatics right now. I want you to know that.
Oh, One
don't worry,
One Piece
Dylan.
is
You
like
won't know where in the 900 episodes anything they're talking about falls.
951 episodes.
Listen, Oda might be a hack, but he's a goddamn genius at the same time.
Yeah, I can
Like-
agree with that.
Jackman, do you want homework?
Do I want homework? It
Yeah.
depends.
Dylan,
type of
should we
homework?
make Jackman watch Dora Hedoro?
Yes, that show is fucking awesome.
That was gonna be on my list. Okay, what is it on? Is it on? What's
That
it
show
on?
is awesome.
Netflix.
That is one of the
Ooh, okay, I
coolest
can do that.
fucking shows.
Dylan,
dude.
it has an OVA episode that's a collection of like.
No, it's
Oh,
4
is it 4 OVAs?
episodes.
It has 4 OVAs.
They're all really short.
Yeah, they're nice little skits that expand the world lore about the characters. You should check them out.
What's it called? Dio.
Doro. Doro.
Okay. I got it.
Yeah.
It's by Mappa. It's the studio that does the animation for God of High School and Jujutsu Kaisen.
Okay.
So you can imagine.
I
what
was
the
always
action looks
always
like.
on the fence of this show because I'm not a big fan of CGI, but I
I
learned
think
to
it's really
like
good.
CGI after watching Kingdom. So
I
The
think
CGI in
it's
this one's
CGI is
in my
really good.
opinion.
I'll definitely watch this.
Are we still streaming?
Yes,
We
we
are.
are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Welcome to the variety portion of the podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in to this week's episode of the Anime Affray Saber Slay podcast. We'll join you next week
Thank you.
where we are probably just going to be pointing guns and firing at each other until we decide
Yeah.
what goes.
I
Until
think next week's gonna
Iwakakuru
be
dies.
really
Maybe
better.
we'll finally
Bro.
see a wheel. Is it possible?
No, we won't.
Oh my god.
Nay.
Oh, can we make the wheel come out next week?
I think the week after next is gonna be interesting. We have to decide between Taiso Samurai and The Day I Hate the Show.
I think you are. I mean, I think Dylan said. I think Dylan said it, and I think even you said it a little bit. Like Taiso still has to do something to. Taiso
does
has
have
to
to
really
not
do
don't
fuck
think
up.
it does to beat
I don't
Iwakakuru.
think it does
I think it
either.
does.
But I think there is always a slim chance that Iwakakuru has an amazing fucking
my God.
episode, and Taiso just shits the bed.
Oh my god.
True.
What if my girls come to top 3, boys?
I actually predicted that this podcast would get Iwakakuru in top 3.
At
the start,
once
I
Tony
thought-
Kawa went off, I was like, oh god, it's actually gonna make top 3.
When we were
Oh,
watching,
Iwakakura's gonna be top 3?
when you were fucking memeing hard on it, Dylan, for 2 weeks worth of it, I was like, yeah, this is definitely gonna be the show that makes it. We're doing Cinderella 9 again, but with sports climbing.
Fair.
Because I thought you actually liked it, and I actually liked Iwakakuru at the beginning. More than I thought I was.
Yeah, because she used gamer mode, and then it went 6 episodes without using gamer mode, and it pissed me off.
Now she's in game mode.
But now you're
constantly,
getting
though.
6 more episodes of only
so I
gamer
need
mode.
we didn't I haven't ended the stream yet. Sorry
Yeah,
guys.
yeah.
But
Close this out.
I will after this last important question. Dylan,
Disclaimer.
Dylan, Dodge, and Jackman.
Hi.
Okay.
If June is not present whatsoever in this next episode, does it just go?
No.
I don't think so.
Konami's the best girl. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Okay.
I think we're getting into a Jujutsu Kaisen scenario where June's gonna go off on her own training, and we got the main characters training. It's the same show. I've cracked the code.
So, are you saying it's tied for top 3 up in there?
It's tied for top 3.
So what if we vote Jackman off the show next week?
No, he still has to leave the island.
No,
He
I
has
think
too
he.
many shows to talk about.
Hey, I have a firm standing on this island right now, so
So I
I
just
picked-
thank you guys again, everybody,
you.
for
Thank you.
tuning in
Yeah.
this week of the podcast. I appreciate you all being here. I hope you enjoy the set of shows we're watching next
Talk
week.
more, edit later.
Please, guys, have a great night. Thank you for coming.
thank you.